All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the WardRadio live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, and today I am joined in the studio by my lovely wife, Brittany the Shadow, as well as via Zoom by a killer cast of none other than Jonah Barnes, the Associate Professor of all things apocryphal, soon to receive his tenure and author of the book, The Key to the Keystone, Brad Whitbeck, who we used to profess as a future apostle, but now we think he's destined for general authority status because he's just been bumped. He's just been bumped by Hayden and Jackson Paul of the Stick of Joseph right here, who made an appearance on the Anti-Mormon Anecdotes podcast, also known as the Mormon Stories Podcast. And we're going to have a fun little reaction today talking about it. So welcome all of our members to the chat. Snagrit's already making some funny jokes. Kaori, thanks for joining us. And I see that Mary Lou Haworth, I don't know how to pronounce it, but again has bestowed her generosity upon the WardRadio Wigwam, gifting 5 memberships to the WardRadio Worship. So Jonah, could you please just read the records of the new members of the WardRadio Wigwam, my friend?
Yes, by the authority invested in me as ward clerk, we are thrilled to have received the records of Brother Logan Garrett, Brother Matt Tower, Sister Marty Day, Brother Mark Peterson, and Lord Kikuchio. All those who would like to welcome these brothers and sisters and lords, please do so by putting a W in the chat. Welcome to the WardRadio Wigwam.
Okay. Oh, excellent. There's the W. All right. So, Hayden and Jackson Paul. Man, wow. This is awesome, guys. I don't know how to start. I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear from everybody. But you guys, you're the stars of the show really fast. So first, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. Tell us how this whole thing came to be, what your thoughts were, and then we're going to start reacting to the clips and the memes. And tell us what your strategy was. I feel like I'm talking to athletes after they win the Super Bowl, where we just want to know.
What was your strategy going into the big game?
Are you going to Disneyland?
Yeah, are you going to Disneyland? Have you done this? And also, how did you train for it, and so on and so forth. Also, just like, the good stuff. And can you please speak in the third person? Can you just be like,
always?
Well, Hayden Paul knew going into this.
Oh, we're really good.
And was going to Gish Gallop, so we came ready for the Gish Gallop, So anyway, take it away.
First, we want to ask all the people in the live chat right now. Make sure you like the stream so that it gets out there. If you press like, then YouTube pushes it out to more people. And we want to take a poll. Who here is not subscribed to the Stick of Joseph YouTube channel? If you're not subscribed to the Stick of Joseph YouTube channel, you need to fess up in the chat, and you need to say me, M-E. If you're not subscribed to Stick of Joseph, put an M-E in the chat so that we know who you are. It's like a mark. We would need a mark on you so that we can distinguish you from the rest, from the Canaanites, from the
Penguin
Israelites.
Man. Oh, no. Carter W., Scott Woodbury.
Oh, my gosh, people. This is just...
Yeah.
Well, we're grateful that you guys had us on. For those who don't know, here's the thing is Stick of Joseph was kind of birthed a little bit through WardRadio. I think our very first appearance on anything that wasn't on our YouTube channel was on WardRadio. And so we are kind of like the ugly stepchild of WardRadio.
Totally in debt to our daddy, Cardin Ellis. So you are hereby known as Daddy.
Okay. I'll take Bishop. I'll take Bishop.
Hey, that's what I call him.
That's funny. That's that. Wait, what do you mean? That's what you call me? That's.
Yeah. All right, chill. But here, to give a little context, this wasn't the first time that we had interaction with John Dehlin. Actually, we reached out to him a while ago to meet up with him because, we've heard many different things from many different people, but we wanted firsthand to be able to interact with him, to see him as a person and to kind of understand him a bit more.
Because one thing I will say, as us creating content and you guys as well, creating content to defend the church, when you have John Dehlin, who's kind of like the megalith on the side of, not defending the church, it's really easy to dehumanize him and like start to have real bad feelings. You know what I mean? And so we started feeling that way, and we were like, we feel these bad feelings towards a guy we don't even know. And so that's the reason we reached out and went to lunch with him. And this was back in like February, probably.
Yeah, February, March timeframe. But it was actually a really eye-opening experience, and it was a really good, friendly conversation. We sat over some Thai food and talked for like 2 hours or something like that. And very interesting. A lot of topics came up, but as me personally, I'm gonna speak for Jackson Wayne Paul tonight. As I thought more about the conversation that we had and some specific parts of it, I became extremely disturbed and more concerned about some of the things that he expressed in that. And so we decided, and he extended the invitation. He's like, I'd love to have you guys on my show. Open invite. Just let me know when you guys would like to make that happen, basically.
Yeah. And so we sat on it for a while, and we just kind of felt the call, like, hey, let's do it. We knew we were going into the lion's den. We didn't really know what to expect exactly. And it was an interesting altercation.
Yeah, the intentions that, I mean, we shared our intentions at the very beginning, but just after watching hundreds of hours of John's show and seeing zero pushback on a lot of the ideas that I personally find extremely concerning, and we'll talk about some of them tonight, but specifically about how he talks about the most beautiful thing in the entire world, the fact that we are able to be redeemed through the atonement of Jesus Christ, that he has on several different occasions in different words said that the doctrine of the atonement of Jesus Christ is insidious in nature. And that specifically rubbed me the wrong way. And, you know, for him to just say that, and then the people on his show is like, yeah, that's so true. It's just very disturbing to me. And so, yeah. So we weren't going in there like, oh, let's make him look dumb. Let's show I came away from that interaction with such a different perspective on John Dehlin that I went in with, because as maybe we'll see in some of the clips, Jonah is the one that prepared the clips from it, but there was a point where, you know, he was kind of red-faced, like screaming at us saying, why me? Why did I get excommunicated? I was more righteous than you guys. I never looked at porn. I never did any of that. Why me? And like, I saw like this dude is actually like trying to do good, and someone hurt him. Like, I don't know if it was someone, I don't know his full experience, but I just felt like this incredible, like, John Dehlin is a human being, a child of God that for some reason can't reconcile some things and greatly holds on to a lot of things that he got from the church. But I don't know, maybe.
So he may be trying to do good, but I think that he's not. Yeah, I guess that's the main.
Yeah, you think?
I don't. Yeah, so that's why we went on the show. So that, just want to make that clear. Like, I don't think he's faking it, and that's something that's really good to know. Like, I don't think that he thinks he's doing something evil, and he's pretending that he thinks he's doing something good, which is helpful to know about somebody, right? He genuinely thinks that what he's doing is good.
I hope when I'm standing before the judgment seat of God that Jesus Christ advocates for me half as well as you advocate for him.
For John Dehlin.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's half of me that's like, that's beautiful, and I love what I heard, and there is hope in the world. I hope more young men in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints come out talking and speaking and behaving like Hayden and Jackson Paul. Then there's the other half of me that's like, the terrorists have already figured out if they plant their base underneath the hospital, people will say things just like this. They're stochastic terrorists, spiritual, you know, like. Then there's the other half of me that's like, okay, locked and loaded. So I think that's great. Now, you said something interesting, like what stuck out to you, and then actually I want to get immediate reactions, just first thoughts from everybody here. So we got Kwaku joining us. We got Ward Librarian and Associate Professor Jonah joining us, and then Brad Whitbeck. Really quick, I want to hear what you guys thought, and then we got a couple of comments and some super chats that we got to get to super fast. So Jonah, Brad, Kwaku, tell us your first thoughts, man.
My first thoughts was, oh gosh, I really hope they don't go on John Dehlin. because anything at all that elevates John Dehlin gives him more opportunity and energy to do what is the meaning of his life. And the meaning of his life is to destroy faith and testimonies in the kingdom of God and fight against the Church of Jesus Christ. That's been his only driving motivation for 20 years. And so I think anything we do to help him is probably a bad idea. So I went into it thinking, oh gosh, I really hope they don't go on John Dehlin. And then I watched it, and I'm the only guy on the planet Earth who watched this entire thing. Okay.
Besides Hayden.
I watched the whole stinking thing. Okay.
I didn't even watch the whole thing. It was,
exactly. And you were on it.
And I was
watched
there.
the whole thing. And if you haven't seen it, and you're determined to go give John Dehlin a click, which I know makes some people feel nauseous, but if you have to give John Dehlin a click, the last 45 minutes are delicious. And as I was watching it, my emotions going down to the very end, and I thought to myself several times, I said to my wife, I'm like, I'm really glad Jackson's on our team. Because Jackson had the Marine face on the whole time.
And I wasn't was just like, be some angry dude. It's just like I was trying to keep a level head, and even ask anyone, when I play golf, when I bowl, when I want to keep a level head in emotions, this is my face.
Hey, look. I know that you guys are all going to be nice to John. Everyone's going to love John tonight and talk about how he's a child of God. Okay, barely. Okay, but I got some good memes. Okay, so you can all you get that out of your system. I can be the guy who brings a little reality check to this. But no, I thought it was amazing to see John Dehlin turn red and puffy and all the oils and grease falling down, and he was going screaming on out all this stuff. And you guys were totally cool as cucumbers. Was fantastic. I thought you did an excellent job.
Yeah. Okay, Brad, what were your thoughts, bro?
I had the same initial impression as Jonah, but I really want to say, man, I don't want anyone going on John Dehlin's show so that he can pretend like he is equally allowing faithful voices to unfaithful voices. And that's kind of how he started off because I watched the whole thing too. I just watched it on double speed. Mm-hmm. And he started off by giving his pedigree on the faithful voices that he's had on the show. And as he was saying that, I'm like, dude, you're saying this like you equally privilege faithful voices when you clearly do not. Mm-hmm. There was even a time when he said that he doesn't see himself as an antagonist toward the church, right? And said, I'm sure you guys will think that's ridiculous, and I'm really grateful that Jackson pushed him on that point, saying look, kind of how can you say that when you are on the record saying that the doctrine of the atonement of Jesus Christ is insidious, mm-hmm. right? So I really appreciated you guys pointing out some of these things that maybe he's not aware of. I don't know, but I don't know how he couldn't be aware of that. But I appreciated you guys pushing back in a more meaningful way than Patrick Mason did when he was on his show and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, you didn't offer to start a podcast with him. You didn't offer to start a podcast with him and monetize his channel further. Good job. Yeah. Good job.
And so I will say I do not think that it's good to have people thinking that John Dehlin somehow equally privileges faithful and unfaithful voices. I don't think anyone should have that takeaway from your involvement of going on his show. I don't see how anyone honestly could, right? Mm-hmm. But I saw him pushing to make it appear that way more from having you guys on. So I just want to make sure that doesn't become something that people even come close to thinking. Because, I mean, he was very, even the description of the video, I don't think you guys saw this, but the description of the video was he's going to talk to you guys about how they remain members of the church in spite of all the scientific evidence.
Yeah.
Right? That's so clearly making it so that oh yeah, well, they remain even though everything says they shouldn't. Like you said, Hayden, there's this undertone to everything he does that makes people feel oh, you've got to be an idiot if you stay in the church. Mm-hmm. Right? And even though he said, I've never said that. I'm yeah. It seems to me like you've been very careful to never say those precise words. Mm-hmm. But almost everything about your arguments come across as though you have to be brainwashed or dumb to remain a member of the church. And so I think it's important that he understand that. So I'm glad you guys were able to articulate that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told him too when he was like, "I've never told anyone to leave the church. I'm trying to like have more people." I was like, "John, you can only pluck so many oranges from a lemon tree before you recognize it's not a lemon tree."
We're gonna get to. Hey, don't spoil the clips.
Okay,
Hayden.
sorry, I won't spoil that.
Don't spoil the
Now,
clips. Yeah,
before-
guys, if you all stick around, we've got lots of clips and memes we're gonna look at. So make sure you like the stream and stick around to the end.
Yeah, Kwaku. So Kwaku, you're up next. I got one question for Hayden and Jackson, and then you gotta unmute yourself and push the harem of women that you have surrounding you that you've been, you've been masking as you've muted your video. You gotta push them away. And then just, focus on the camera for a second, bro. But anyway, what's your guys' role in the military? At least the one that you can overtly talk about. What's your role, Hayden and Jackson?
Well, we can talk about everything. There's just very specific, like we can't talk about when we're getting deployed or where we're getting deployed or things like that. But we're both just in the infantry.
You're infantrymen?
We're infantrymen, riflemen, and we are right now in Fox Company. 223 Fox Company up in Salt Lake. So
okay, cool. So I'm actually going to call your CO, your commanding officer, and I'm going to request that you get changed to minesweeper. Because, John Dehlin was putting out all these little mines, and you were just like walking around and just dodging them and finding them and dodging them, baby.
For that now.
They
That's
got
good.
well. Then
That's
you need to
good.
be one of those drone pilots, baby. Because you were mining and we lost Kwaku. Dang it, we lost Kwaku. I was gonna have Kwaku jump in right now, but we just barely lost him. I'll have to admit him back in. It was
Okay,
probably the
super chat.
reception.
Yeah, if he shows back up again, make sure you let him back in.
Yeah, so super chats. Brittany, keepers of the chats, catch us up on the chats.
Okay. So, man, this is a lot of scrolling. Okay, Samuel Moon. I have never been welcomed to the Ward Radio family as a member.
Samuel Moon says this?
Yeah, well, maybe you were late to the meeting,
Moon,
Samuel.
Look, it's just because you're such an integral part of the ward that no one ever noticed that you were a convert. It's like those people that they're like in the stake presidency, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're a convert of a couple of years? Like, you don't realize it. All those who would like to welcome Brother Samuel into the Ward Radio worship. Samuel, would you please stand? Samuel, could you stand, Samuel?
Yeah.
We can see you, Samuel. We can see you.
Where?
Thank you.
Samuel.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you. All those who would like to welcome Samuel into the Ward Radio worship, please show by the uplifted W in the chat, please.
Okay, awesome.
Jonah, can you also please welcome Stacey?
Stacey, Sister Stacey, we're so glad to have Sister Stacey moving into the ward boundaries. All those who would like to welcome Sister Stacey into the Ward Radio worship, please do so by the uplifted W.
Thank you, Jonah.
All right.
Lots of
awesome.
new members of the ward.
Josiah Flynn says, these guys are Marines and Latter-day Saints, and Marines say Semper Fidelis, meaning always faithful. These guys took that phrase literally.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Semper Fi.
Stephen Diamond, join the Ward Radio Discord writers group. We are over 30 members now, waiting for Cardin to do an episode and give us an assignment.
Oh, watch out. Watch out what you wish for, baby. Because there's a comic book series coming that I've already written the opening for it, and that could be kind of cool. So, yeah, all right, keep going.
Kiori says, Cardin, read Jacob 7:6. You want to look that up?
Sure, I'll look it up while
What
you
was
read.
it? Jacob 7:6?
Yeah.
What, am I going to get
And
dogged
he says
on?
verse 7-2.
Oh.
Okay.
What's it say? Who got it
You
first?
got that?
No, you can get it. Who got it first?
All right. 7:6. And it came to pass that he came to me, and on this wise did speak unto me, saying, Brother Jacob, I have sought much opportunity that I might speak to you, for I have heard and also know that thou goest about much preaching that which you call the gospel of doctrine of Christ, and you've led away much people that they pervert the right way and keep not the law of Moses, which is the right way, and convert the law of Moses into the worship of a being which ye say may come in 100 years hence. And now behold, I, John Dehlin, declare unto you that this is blasphemy. For no man knows such things. Oh, sorry. Sherem. This is blasphemy. For no man knows such things, and he cannot tell these things. And after this manner did Sherem contend against me. This is anti-Mormon rule number 1. Am I right, Cardin? Which is that anti-Mormons never refute Scripture.
They only fulfill it. Yes.
And they can't see themselves fulfilling it. What was it? The Light and Truth letter guys are now saying they want a sign. Smite me down, they're saying. If you really have the priesthood, smite me down. It's like,
oh, no.
Hear yourself talk?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Wait, who's saying that?
It's the Reddit guys on the Light and Truth letter.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Like, hey, we got Kwaku back.
Yeah, so Kwaku, your thoughts, my man. We know that you got a New Age show that you're going to be on shortly. So just hit us up with your thoughts, your first impressions, my man. Nah, dang it. He must be in bad reception again or something. Because I don't have him muted on my end. Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to keep going through
All
super
right,
chats.
keep going through the super chats then. We'll see if we can't get Kwaku back. Go.
AS says, my boys stole my Cardin Ellis War in Heaven veteran hat. We love you all. Keep fighting for truth and light. You have helped my boys and me so much.
All right, awesome. By the way, we're going to get this.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, we're going to get this actually out of the way. First off, Hayden and Jackson, you get a complimentary hat for, your performance today.
Yes.
And you're a new father again. So I'm going to send I'm going to send a personal gift to you guys to go get a freaking massage. Like
there you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like a massage and a bath. Because after having been like going through what you're going through, like just you deserve something, bro. You know what I'm saying? And also we in celebration, babe, pull up who's the person that gifted 5 hats? What was her name? Kim?
Kim Hatchett.
Okay, Kim Hatchett actually has gifted 5 hats to members of the Ward Radio Wigwam. And we've noticed in the comments today, we're gonna go back to Hayden and Jackson as soon as I just read these off really fast. But in the comments today, on the video announcing how they tried to cancel our hats, but they couldn't, there was a couple of people here that said some really, really interesting things and they earned a hat, right? Here was one that says, I'm a veteran and I love the hat, just not $62. Love. That's by BV9864. You know what, BV? If you are indeed a veteran, you get a free hat courtesy of Kim, what's her name?
Hatchett.
Kim Hatchett. Just go on the Ward Radio website right now and the code is veteran hat 55. You're going to get $55 off the hat. So the only payment left will be just the shipping. And then there was another guy that said, there was another one. Where is it? There was another guy. There was another veteran. Come on, who is it? And I took a screenshot. Oh, if I weren't poor right now, I'd have bought it in an instant, said Dane with swag. You can use the exact same code and you will be able to get...
Careful, Cardin, because everybody can hear this code.
Well, I know. And then I'm saying, now this is the honor system here. This is the honor system.
Okay.
There's 3 hats left. Okay, if you're a veteran, there are 3 other coupon codes left of veteran hat 55. So you'll only pay shipping and you'll virtually get the hat for free. If you indeed are a veteran and you want the hat, my audience is on the honor system. Somebody could lie and I'm not having you send your military ID in or something. You could bamboozle the system. But if you're a veteran and you want a hat for free, Kim just hooked us up with 5 free hats. You will only pay shipping. Use the coupon code VeteranHat55. So anyway, Kwaku, are you back? One last chance. Are you back, bro? Oh, dang it. Maybe I'll have to try on his iPhone. So anyway.
Well,
Super chat.
Before we get, I don't know. We have 2 sets of things in Discord. We have clips and we have a couple just memes.
Okay.
I don't know which ones you want to hit or what order you want to do this. Just
well, let's do the clips first, because if you do memes, he might call the cops on us. So we're going to ease into the memes. You know what I'm saying?
And I'll say this, Jonah, I have a hard out in an hour and 30 minutes, and I would love to react to as many clips as possible. Hayden doesn't, but...
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's dive right into the clips then. This is the first clip titled Oranges that you came up with.
It was a fantastic metaphor.
Okay, so here is the first clip.
I don't ever tell someone I think they should leave, and I don't believe that people who love and value the church should leave it. And I want the church to grow and thrive and be healthy.
Well,
that's my motivation.
Yeah. You kind of have other people come on the channel and tell people to leave the church. Does that make sense?
That's not why I bring them on. That's not why I bring them on.
But it's like you can only pick so many oranges from a lemon tree before you have to be like, oh, this isn't a lemon tree.
Well, I don't.
Okay, I'll be honest. I don't understand that analogy about it not being a lemon tree, but I do love the fact that you pushed back and called a spade and told him the obvious truth that everybody knows. We're going to play this one more time and we'll just pause really fast.
Don't ever tell someone I think they should leave. And I don't believe that people who love and value the church should leave it.
Okay, so first off, that's a lie. And it's a backdoor lie, because Al Capone was never busted for a single murder. In fact, he would go on television and on radio and say, I've never pulled the trigger on a single poor soul. You know, it's a shame what happens in Chicago. These streets, you should talk to the police. They got to clean them up. And it's like, please, we all know you're full of crap. And you're lying. And then when he says, oh, I've never said anybody that thinks the church is good and amazing and beautiful should leave. I've just spent my entire career saying the church is not amazing, is not beautiful, is ugly. You support pedophiles. You support all this other crap. Like, I love that you actually just said, oh, okay. You actually almost kind of giggled. You know?
Yes.
So, Hayden, Jackson, what were you thinking? Oh, yeah.
Just to throw my support behind their analogy, I think it's pretty clear. You can only pick so many oranges from a lemon tree before you realize it's not a lemon tree, right? When you're taking this fruit off, if you're getting the same thing every time, you're going to know what it is. And on John Dehlin's show, he's trying to say, I have faithful people on every once in a while. I have, sure, Hayden's pointing out that I bring on all sorts of guests that tell people how horrible the church is all the time, but that's not why I bring them on, right? And so Hayden's analogy, I think, just cuts through that and lets you see, hey, honestly, the majority of people that you have on your show, it is very much negative toward the church.
Yes, great job. Great job, Hayden.
Yeah, and I guess the main point, and that was the point I was trying to make, and just that the fruit of John's show, I think it's indisputable, even by John himself, that so many people give their thanks to Mormon Stories for helping them go through their faith crisis so that they can come out on the other side of Mormonism, right? And so it's like, if that is the fruit, which I think is an overwhelming fruit of his show, then after a while you have to say, is that not the purpose of the show, right? And if it isn't the purpose of the show, then John Dehlin needs to rethink how he does the show, because that is the fruit of it. And I think that's pretty undisputable.
Okay, let's finish the clip one more time.
And I want the church to grow and thrive and be healthy. That's my motivation.
Okay. Well, I would argue every single time you've said that if you support the church, you're supporting abuse and anti this, anti that, you just can't say those two things.
I would actually say, and this goes to something I'm grateful you guys did. Hayden and Jackson did a very good job of starting to focus on the core belief of what God is like. And I wish that there would have been a way to articulate, what do you think is the ultimate good that can happen in somebody's life? Like, because it seemed to me that you guys were on the side of salvation and becoming like God is the end goal, where John Dehlin's answers all seemed to be somewhere more along the lines of self-actualization, or generally being happy with yourself, felt more like what he was going for. And so the words that he's using right here, I don't know if I would say that that's lying. He just has such a different definition of what he thinks is like going to make people happy. He wants the church to succeed in doing a thing that the church is not here to do. Exactly. It's here to bring people to salvation. He's trying to make it more successful, I think, almost as a social club, is what it felt like in the discussion. And
that's why at the end, and there were a lot of people that commented on this at the end of the whole discussion, he's like, well, I think that we can find common ground here, that both of us want the church to be a healthier whatever place for people. And I sat there and I was just like, I don't think that we mean the same thing. And so what I said is, I clarified. I said, I want the church to continue to uphold the standards that will lead people to salvation. And that's how I said it, which then everybody that's on John's side interprets that as he doesn't want it to be a healthy place. He wants it to be a place that is damaging towards these groups of people. Right?
Yeah, I loved one thing Jackson said, which was it was excellent. I can't remember the exchange exactly. We were talking about love, and he says, I just think Jesus is love. Jesus is nothing but love. He's just love, 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 love. And you said, well, Jesus said a lot of things. And Jackson points out, he says, well, Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And he's like, whoa, well, hang on a minute. You know, and you guys were quick to point out and say, what aren't there some standards that you should live up to? Like, is this so crazy? You also pointed out, John, I think your problem is with religion generally, that just any standards at all just bug you. And so you're putting all this hate on us when it's like, well, really, everybody has some kind of standard. But
you know, and I would just like to point out that Hayden and Jackson, big time kudos on you, because let's also just notice this is one of the first times in my living memory where John Dehlin has been effectively on his heels having to answer questions.
Yes.
He's been able to bully other people that he was not able to bully you. Now, when we went on Jubilee, it was very interesting. I said, I know this is an absolute uphill battle, right? That me, Timber, and Kwaku are completely an uphill battle. And there was plenty of times where we had great responses that hit the editing room floor because, you know, obviously they want to give us the villain edit and so on and so forth. But that's in a third-party environment. There's been a few places where John's have to been on the defensive in third-party environments. But on his own show, I can't think of a time when he's had to actually answer questions himself. And it's really interesting seeing how, like, he could not handle that scrutiny. And congrats to you guys for actually getting that out of the situation. Let's finish the clip and see what he has to say.
Kind of have other people come on the channel and tell people to leave the church.
Yeah, it's called stochastic spiritual terrorism.
Does that make sense?
Well, that's not why I bring them on.
It,
that's not why I bring them on.
But it's like you can only pick so many oranges from a lemon tree before you have to be like, oh, this isn't a lemon tree.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I think you should have said a tasteful citrus tree because maybe some mandarin trees and some orange trees feel left out of the analogy, Hayden and Jackson. But, you know, we'll work on that next time.
The worst thing that could happen is to, like, leave anybody out.
Yes, exactly.
What is with you and citrus?
Well, just 'cause we got them all in our backyard, and it's Southern California. I grew up with citrus trees.
So there's actually is a parallel of this in the scriptures in Matthew 21.
Okay.
I think this is what Jackson and Hayden were talking a lot about fruit. I think that's you're saying, show me the fruit. You know, Jesus Christ gives this parable. Says a certain man had two sons. The first came and said, and he said, "Son, go work a day in my vineyard." His son said, "No." Second said, he says, "Go work a day in my vineyard," and he says, "Okay." The one who says no ends up coming and works a day in the vineyard. And the one that says yes doesn't show up and follow through. And the Lord says, okay, so which of them was faithful to his father? And they say, well, the one who actually did the work. And I think this is what, you know, it's too bad that John Dehlin is illiterate in the scriptures, or else he might, you know, read some of that, because that's what Jackson and Hayden were talking about. They're saying, look, you can say whatever you want, but the fruits of the church are pretty undeniable. That they're good things and they do good things for good people. And what you're talking about, John, you're always talking about truth, but your fruits are horrible. Your fruits are swinging and drinking and nihilism, and they're just no good.
Dude, that needs to be our new T-shirt. Swinging, drinking, and nihilism. It sounds like a punk band in like the late 90s or the early 2000s, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Swinging, drinking, and nihilism.
How did it feel to look him right in? Jackson did this. Jackson, you looked him right in the eye and you're like, you've tried to build something better than the church and you failed.
Oh,
it's horrible.
Oh,
and you just like let it sit. Like, how did that? You're staring him down. How did that feel?
It was honestly sad because you see so much effort being put in, and like I said, I came away from that interaction feeling that he genuinely wanted to do something good and create something good, but he just doesn't realize, and it's so incredibly insane that he doesn't realize that his efforts have contributed to people just throwing God down the drain. When you support the fact that when you support an idea that Jesus Christ, the idea of Jesus Christ redeeming us from our sins is insidious, people are naturally going to be like, okay, throw that away. We got a comment from someone today that is a big supporter of John Dehlin and is like kind of new in the Exmo content space on Instagram, and her bio said, "Just learned there's no more rules. Trying everything. A safe place for Exmos to deconstruct." It's like, that is the description that is a recipe of you are going to unfortunately find out, probably in a difficult, rough way that's going to have a bad effect on your life, that the world doesn't have anything to offer when it comes to lasting joy and happiness. And so it was kind of sad because you could see the pain in his eyes that he just can't grasp the fact that what his efforts are contributing to is exactly that.
Well, and also, how many people
away
have
from God.
engaged in self-destructive behaviors and self-harm because the structure and the framework that their faith gave them was taken away from them by this stochastic spiritual terrorism?
Yeah.
Like think how, for a guy that's constantly supposedly worried about others, think how much not just social fabric destruction and annoyance, but how many families have been torn apart by this man. Like, I love that you guys actually challenged him on that. So anyway, we're going to try and get through all these clips. The next one is titled, Jonah, you titled it "To Be Gay." You shouldn't do that when there's people don't know their brothers, and it does look like maybe it's some kind of like, internet dating thumbnail or something. So here's
Play the clip.
But from the beginning of the creation,
yeah, so here's the poorly labeled clip. Let's play that one right now. Boom. Visit site, go.
But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. So
You have to add stuff to that to say you shouldn't be gay.
well,
No, you have to
Or
add
that
stuff
you
to
sh-
say that you should, or that you can. Or
but from the beginning of
Oh,
Okay, so this is a great point. So he says, your church just hates gay people, which is, whatever, John. And they push back and say, okay, well, hold on a minute. Now in Mark 10, it says that marriage between a man, he says, where in the Bible does it say that? Okay, Mark 10, Jesus says, and they whipped it out. I mean, they just knew off the top of their head. Pull out the scripture and say, here's what it says. Man and woman should be twain, and don't put us under what God has sanctified. And he says, well, you have to add a lot there to say that you shouldn't be gay. And they turned right around and said, you have to add a lot in there to say that you should be gay. Like, wait a minute, don't you? Like the same tactic that he was using, the same taking something ultra specific and applying it generally, they did the exact same thing. They said, hold on, we're just going to reverse your same logic here. That doesn't say you can't be gay. Well, okay, but it does say he created man and woman. You're accusing us of reading into it. You're reading into it too, John. And it was an excellent rebuttal. And he gets away with that all the time. Well, what did you think about that, Jackson Hayden?
Yeah, so my thoughts on it were, and we knew that he wanted to get into the tangential things really quickly, and so we tried when he was going through the rapid fire. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? I just derailed it because I was like, we're gonna spend 30 minutes of you bringing up the most controversial things and saying, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, this isn't gonna go well. We need to get to something more. But this was a subject that I think is important to talk about, and to give a little context of that scripture as well. It's talking about divorce in that situation, but overall, I think the mistake that we can make as Latter-day Saints, but also especially the ex-Mormon community when they're trying to do apologetics, but using scriptures that they don't believe in, which is a weird thing.
Yes.
In the first place, but the mistake that is made is that we think that everything is thou shalt nots, right? That if it's not a thou shalt not, then free reign. But we forget that there's a lot of thou shalts, and that when a commandment is given, not fulfilling that commandment would be not fulfilling that commandment. Not everything has to be said. These are all the things that are not allowed. God is trying to give us the secret sauce to help us to reach exaltation. And so not accepting that secret sauce keeps us from salvation and exaltation. So that's the point that he makes. He's like, it doesn't say anything that you shouldn't be gay. Jesus never says that you shouldn't be gay, but he reaffirms that in the beginning, God curated man and woman and commanded them to become one.
Did anybody here think if somebody who had same-sex attraction went on Mormon Stories and they said, I don't know what the church's position is on this, but I heard the church hates me. Do you think John would be happy or sad? He'd be thrilled. He'd be like, yes, that's right. They sure do. They hate you. He'd be thrilled about it. If they said, I don't think the church, discourages, I don't think the church rejects me as a person. I think it's copacetic. Like, I think he would say, whoa, then you don't understand. He loves when LGBT people feel hated. He loves it. He wants them to feel hated by the church. It's kind of sick. Got a statistic.
It's that mindset of like, I'm just going to push the limits as much as I want. Like, even if they were members, like, they need to be told all the things that they can't do. But I love this scripture in Mosiah when King Benjamin's just laying down bars.
Oh, yeah, this is baller.
And he says in Mosiah 4:29, he says, and finally, I cannot tell you all the things whereby ye may commit sin, for there are divers ways and means, even so many that I cannot number them. But this much I can tell you, that if ye do not watch yourselves and your thoughts and your words and your deeds, and observe the commandments of God, and continue in the faith of what ye have heard concerning the coming of the Lord, even unto the end of your lives, ye must perish. And, O man, remember and perish not. Christ in the New Testament, all he's saying, he's looking at the commandments. He's like, you've heard that you just shouldn't have sex with people that you're not married to. I'm telling you, if you think about it, then you've already committed it in your hearts. He's raising the bar of the standard that we should keep, which is telling us, look, I don't want you to look at the gospel as checking boxes anymore. I want you to ingrain my like God in your countenance. I want you to become like one of us. And it's so important that we understand that, because they're looking for the thou shalt not, check the box, good to go. But we need to understand we are here to gain the attributes that will allow us to become like our Father in heaven.
I loved how you guys kept tying back into that during the conversation. That it's like, hey, no, the purpose of the gospel is to help us become like God, to help us to become like our Savior Jesus Christ. That's going to be a difficult thing to do, right? And I saw him saying things like, oh, well, it shouldn't be using guilt and shame as a tactic, which interestingly, I kind of agree with that.
I agree.
There's
100%.
But I think that that's less a criticism of the church itself and more of kind of the culture he was raised in, because you
just
see
human
that
beings.
Bingo.
Yeah,
Do that
human
to
beings
each
in
other.
general too. But also like 50s, 60s, 70s, like American culture was very much that way. Think about anything about Catholic school, right? This is very common even outside of the church. So I think that it's something where I appreciated what you guys had to say, that, yeah, we need to be focused on becoming like Christ. And I think it's good to find a point of agreement. It shouldn't be something that you are shamed into being like Christ. I don't think that's the goal of the gospel. I don't think no one's trying to guilt people into being like Christ. It's because we want to. And I loved that you guys brought that up. Like, in the end, where you go in heaven, it's about where you want to go.
Oh, that was great. That was another great exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, what was that scripture again? I'm pulling it up on scripturenotes.com, my man. It was Mosiah 4, what again?
4:29.
Oh, right here. Awesome. Okay. And my only comment on this whole thing that I'll put down, guys, is just from here on out, whenever somebody wants to bring up this whole the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints v. the LGBTQ community, you just need to stop them and say, I'm sorry, I'm sick of your pseudoscience. Like, I only deal with factually verifiable conversations, and in the name of science and statistics and accuracy, and in order to avoid misinformation, we need to deal with the reality that our LGBTQ brothers and sisters do better in the church by almost every single measurable quantifier. So I don't want to engage in dogma. I want to engage in data, and the data shows that our gay brothers and sisters are loved, welcomed, and do better in the church than out of the church by every measurable quantifier in almost every single study compared to their secularized counterparts. So if you really, really wish good upon them, then you're going to actually encourage them to participate more heavily, not stochastically terrorize their families into thinking that if they don't denounce the church with telephone post Facebook, paragraphs that all of a sudden they're contributing to the self-harm of a loved one. That's cruel and it's hypocritical and it is just completely pseudoscientific.
Now, Garden, you're bringing in facts and data, and that's not something that John deals with. It's not Mormon data; it's Mormon stories. So the next clip is perfectly goes along with that because John made a huge mistake. He said somebody should fact check him. And here at Ward Radio, our team, we have a diligent team, dozen and a half or so fact checkers round the clock. Okay. We have a team in Australia, team here in America who are just typing away, doing fact checking for us. And we have actually done the work to fact check exactly what John Dehlin requested us to do. We're just following his suggestion and his request. So the next clip is called Fact Check Me.
Okay, here we go.
A child abuse. Child abuse is rampant within active faithful Mormonism by any measure.
By what standard? What standard is it?
Go to the FBI and look at per capita reports of child sexual abuse. Utah comes up very high in the rankings, from what I understand, talking to people in the FBI that investigate child abuse. Fact check me if I'm wrong. Please correct me.
It's really important. Like when you're going to make a statement like that, that's a really bold statement, and so you should have the source.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, you should probably have the source on that, John.
You don't have to have a source on everything that you say, right? But like when you're gonna make a big statement, like anything having to do with like the abuse or rape of children, like that should be grounded in like something. You should say, hey, if you go to this website and you look up this, then you'll find this out.
What did our fact checkers find?
Yeah, what'd they find?
So our team of diligent fact checkers, they're behind the curtain back here typing away. It's hard to hear over the clicking of their keyboards. They have found here, there's a little snippet in the Discord. It says number of unique victims of child abuse in the United States from 2022. Now, this is from state government submissions to the federal abuse database here, the Abuse and Neglect Data System that they submit this to. And if you pull this up, Carden, you'll notice where Utah is. Can you find Utah?
Let me look. Let me pull it up a little bit smaller. It is. Oh, it's not on the graph.
Oh my gosh, it's not on the graph. That's crazy. It's not even in the top 20.
Oh,
it's not even in the top 20. It's not in the top half of abuse. So Hayden correctly called BS on this and said, wait, where are you getting that data? And John Dehlin is caught in a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
That's completely
also,
a lie.
There's an odd thing, there's another anti-Mormon rule here that has actually also been violated, that it's never about church policy, but about politics. And they're never missionaries. Progmos and their secularized counterparts are never missionaries of God's goodness into progressive politics, but of progressive politics into God's church, right? And you'll notice on this list, sadly and unfortunately, 3 of the top 5 are the most blue states. And he himself has said, I will never apologize for my progressivism. And I'm like, oof, for a guy that wants to keep talking blue state in the state of Utah, these graphs, man, aren't in your favor. You don't want to look more like California. You don't want to look more like New York. You don't want to look more like Illinois and Michigan and Indiana and Massachusetts. There's only a couple of red states on there, man, and they're not very populous. So, yes, and Brad.
Something I want to say is if you want to understand this particular issue, look up Jennifer Roach and her work she's done with FAIR.
Yes,
that
excellent.
Is by far the best source for this, the best resource I could refer anybody to best understand this particular issue. She's been deeply involved in this work and has some incredible insights on the things that the church is doing to make sure that abuse stops. And so, I don't know, his characterization of the church's relationship with abuse is, I think, very, very divorced from the actual data. So anyone who wants to know more about it, look up Jennifer Roach and the things that she has put together on FAIR.
Now, but Brittany, are you concerned with Christian nationalism?
I'm concerned that we don't have super chats being read.
Oh yeah, I was about to
Boom.
say.
Good.
Well,
Right now.
well,
Good
yeah.
transition. That's why she gets paid the big bucks.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so babe, catch us up on
Expensive.
super chats. Catch us up on super chats right now.
Okay, so hold on, just give me a second.
I can read the last.
No,
Oh, go.
Stop it.
Oh.
My thing. Okay. First, Jonah, can you welcome Pizza Doctor?
Oh my goodness, Dr. Pizza. Is there a doctor in the house? There's a doctor in the ward, a pizza doctor. We're thrilled to have received the records of Mr. Brother Dr. Pizza Doctor. All those who would like to welcome the Pizza Doctor into the Ward Radio worship, please do so by putting a W in the chat. We all expect free pizza during the next live stream, Pizza Doctor. So get on that.
Woza Cardoza says, sorry guys and gals, I had to withdraw my membership for a couple months, but I fully repented and I'm back for the Paul brothers.
Oh, there
We'll
we
take
go.
Cute.
Yeah.
Cyclops924 says, did I hear you say you'd skip church to watch Tony Stewart? As a Jeff Gordon fan, you can do better. That's why my dad got a DVR. LOL. Love you guys.
Oh, that's funny.
It's true. It's true life. I don't know. Our dad went through like a heavy NASCAR phase in our youth, and Tony Stewart was his guy because we loved Home Depot. Like that was like our favorite place to go. It was Home Depot. So sorry, man. Jeff Gordon's all right too. Yeah.
That's funny. By the way, now we know Woza Cardoza is indeed a female because they were gushing over the handsome devils, Hayden and Jackson Paul, which I can't think of a better face for Mormonism, at least as of late, besides, Brittany the Shadow and Jonah Barnes, Jonah Barnes.
Obviously.
So anyway, next one, Brittany.
Kiori says, I'll be at Firm Foundation in October. See you there.
Oh, okay. Kiori, thank you.
Brent D says, don't tell their CO, commanding officer, if he finds out they read books, are well-spoken, and have intelligence, he'll be forced to transfer them to the artillery.
Oh, rock on.
That a little military joke? I don't know why. Okay. Mark the Uton says, what about first responders discount codes? Sorry, no.
You know what? We'll get something together. We'll get something together on the next round. That is a fair solicitation. We'll get you a 10% off for first responders as well.
At least. Come on.
Okay, fine. Kiori says, it's like Amaron. Is that a Book of Mormon person I'm not aware of? Saying, I'm not the one poisoning Lahontai.
Oh, snap. Solid reference.
I know who Lahontai was. I didn't remember Amaron.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, keep going.
Guess I'll read again. Samuel
Or
Moon.
Malachi, probably.
Yes. I was going to say that, but we just let it.
Yeah, okay.
No, but that's totally right. And I think he put that in when we were talking about John Dehlin saying, I don't tell people to leave the church. And Hayden and Jackson pushed back by saying, like, yeah, but you bring on an awful lot of people who do, kind of make that seem like that's the best
There's
thing to do.
a name for this. Who will rid me of this meddlesome priest?
Of this petulant priest. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
The Al Capone metaphor is fantastic. Al Capone never killed anybody.
Yeah.
Hey, never killed anybody.
Yeah, guess what?
Pilate
Neither
didn't crucify Jesus, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
By the way,
he left it
Pablo
to the
Escobar. Where's the CCTV footage that Pablo Escobar killed anybody?
Sure. Or Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Allegedly. Come on.
Oh, we just got demonetized. Sorry, guys.
All right. Keep
Okay,
going, Brittany.
Samuel Moon. Not yet, Jonah. Gosh. Samuel Moon says, I was the guy you just welcomed tonight to the ward and the Navy vet whose comment you pinned on YouTube. I just used the code to get a hat. Thanks so much. Love you guys.
All right.
That's
See,
cute.
it worked.
Love it.
The trust system worked.
Okay, I'm going to keep going.
Go.
Madison Mather says, shout out from New Zealand. Our group chat loves y'all. Your debunkings of antis is like the ridiculous spell in Harry Potter. Oh, gosh, I love this girl already. And then she says, hi, Brittany.
Oh,
Hi,
Madison. Rock on.
Jeez.
Let's burn through them. Woza Cardoza, welcome to the Ward Radio Wigwam. Jonah, do your thing for Woza Cardoza super fast.
Woza Cardoza, we have received the records of Brother Woza Cardoza. All those who would like to welcome Brother Woza Cardoza into the Ward Radio worship, please do so by putting an uplifted W in the chat.
All right.
All those opposed, we don't care.
Yeah. All right, go Brittany.
Real quick.
Yes.
Can I just say something real quick?
Fine.
Every single time I've done a live stream with Ward Radio, I see Chris Murphy, and I I feel like Chris Murphy is such a part of Ward Radio. I feel like you should make a T-shirt for him that says like "Most Beloved Hate Watcher" or something like that. Because it's like I don't feel like I'm on Ward Radio unless I see Chris Murphy in the comments.
All caps.
Well,
all caps. Always
Caps
all
lock.
caps.
Yes, we give Chris Murphy props, but then there's Nathan Bigler. Nathan Bigler, not as many comments, but 3 times the toxicity. So you
Let's do
kind
the
of
poll.
wonder. We need
Let's do a
to.
poll.
They need to have a toxicity walk-off. Like they need to see how many problems in how many people's lives they can completely lay at the feet of their friends and family who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the most cynical and toxic way possible. And then they will get the award, and we'll have to name it after one of them. It will either be the Nathan Bigler Award or it will be the Chris Murphy Award. You know what I'm saying? But we don't know which one it'll be, but they will have an honorary award, you know?
And
So,
we should
yes.
probably, does Chris Murphy knows that like you have to turn caps lock off? Like if you push it, it stays on until you push it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Much
Yeah,
love,
you wonder-
much love. I'm just joking. Much love, for real.
Yeah, you wonder
Okay.
what's going on in these dudes' lives. They got nothing else to do. But
next
really,
super chat,
guys, what does this have to do with Christian nationalism?
Yeah,
Nice
that's
super
true.
chat, Brittany.
Okay, next super chat, babe.
Light and Truth letter. From the Light and Truth letter, I'm concerned that his podcast creates worse outcomes for the saints he is professing to help by persuading them to leave the church. I especially worry about our LGBTQ plus identifying members who listen.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rock Family, and then Taylor.
Okay, Rock Family says, Ward fam, when Exmos ask, does religion even matter? I can't express it. It's like trying to describe the taste of salt. Help me, Ward Radio. This panel is my only hope. If you don't have time to answer, love you all, but Cardin most. Jonah is on his heels, though.
Oh, Rock Family. Okay, well, guys, here's your chance. We've got Hayden and Jackson Paul. There's a specific question, and they gave us a generous super chat. They said, Ward fam, when Exmo's asked, does religion even matter? I can't express it. It's like trying to describe the taste of salt. Look, I think that's a big role that this channel plays. I think it's a big role that conversations like the one Hayden and Jackson Paul just had on the Anti-Mormon Anecdotes channel. I think that's a big reason why people have gravitated towards the Ward Radio community, is because we'll call a spade, and we will articulate, similar to the same way that the Light and Truth letter articulates these things, these feelings that people have felt. She says it's like trying to describe salt, okay? My first suggestion, I want to hear what Hayden and Jackson have to say about this, but my first suggestion, Rock Family, is get the Light and Truth letter. Austin Fife did an amazing job of putting into words a feeling that you have felt where you knew something was wrong and you were getting misrepresented, but you didn't quite have the data. He has done the deep dives. He has simplified the information, and he's put it all in a magnum opus that you can call the Light and Truth letter. Here it is.
The
Go
second
to-
half especially,
Yes.
especially the second half of the Light and Truth letter, it goes through basically the light. So the first half is like the truth. The second half is like the light, and you read about the great outcomes that the Church of Jesus Christ and religion in general give you by living those principles. It's a hard thing to quantify and put your finger on, but at the end of your life, it is just, there's so many things that are brighter and better and more hopeful and more meaningful and deep because of what religion in general and because of what the Church of Jesus Christ gives you. So that's a great suggestion, Card.
Yes, explore the fruits of the success, because by their fruits ye shall know them. And there is no data that suggests you are better off outside of the church as a secularized person, especially when you know what could be before. Okay, it's like in Lord of the Rings, you got to torture an elf before they can become an orc. Orcs just aren't born, you know. So
Just like torturing elves, guys. It's
Yes, just like
basically
torturing
that.
elves.
Rock Family, that's what it is. Torture elves.
Yes, so thank you, Rock Family. Now Taylor
Wait.
Vancourt.
I want to answer that one.
Okay, yes.
Because I
On
think
Brad's
this one's
thoughts.
really, really important. When it comes to does religion even matter, or why does religion even matter, I think the key thing that I always go back to with this is at least I can answer them why it matters to me. And the reason why it matters to me is because it helps me understand my real relationship with my Father in heaven, and my real relationship with not just my own family, but with my brothers and sisters here on earth. Every single one of us being a spirit son and daughter of God. And to me, there's nothing more ennobling and enabling than that. It enables us to see other people for their divine potential. It enables us to see ourselves with divine potential. It is something that uplifts and encourages and inspires and blesses our lives in ways you cannot find anywhere else. You can find other places that might try to give you something similar, but they have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof. And in doing that, they can't have the transformative power that you need. I love what Joseph Smith said when he said something I should know the quote, but it's similar to, if a religion that does not require everything of its people does not have the power to save them and transform them, right? And I love religion because honestly, it is our Father in heaven trying to give us a guide on how to return back to him and become like him. And I think if people were to view it that way, they would see why it matters.
Yeah, Brad, I was gonna. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go.
Oh,
Go
okay,
ahead,
cool.
Brittany.
So I was gonna say, Brad, along that thought, like, just to sum it up, I would say this life is our chance to prepare ourselves to meet God. We can't do that on ourselves. Jesus will bridge that gap for us, and there's certain things that religion teaches us of how we draw closer to Jesus so that we can be drawn ever closer to Heavenly Father in the next life.
Oh, you totally redeemed yourself for not knowing who Amaron was with that, babe.
Okay,
You
now
crushed
I know.
it.
It meant like a
You
moron,
just crushed
right?
it, baby.
Yeah.
You just, man,
Right,
you're
you
hot
killed it.
and knowledgeable. That's a double threat.
All right.
What I'll add to that, Brad, is a lot of times I've heard the question, and even we got tagged in a comment today of an ex-Mormon post of them dancing around, drinking coffee, and stuff like that. And someone commented, "See, at the Stick of Joseph, you can be happy without religion." And I don't know why they tagged us in it, because we've never said you can't be happy without it. But here's the thing. You definitely can be in this life. I believe that you can find happiness without religion, without God.
Yeah.
But here's the thing the conclusion that I've come to. I'm not only concerned with my earthly happiness. The whole thing about religion and about Jesus Christ and what he came here to do was to not find just happiness in this life, but in the next. Because if we have divine origin and a divine mission on this earth, then it only makes sense that we try to tap into what fulfilling that actually looks like, so that we don't just party, and then we get to the end of this life and like, oh, wait, I missed the whole point. And so religion doesn't provide you with keys to find fulfillment and joy in just this life, but purpose and joy, eternal joy in the life to come.
Okay, I am only going to say one thing in regards to this, and we're going to move on to the next super chats. But get ready for the clip. Jackson, that was beautiful. I'm going to say the thing nobody was, or that they were trying to get. I'm going to give them one clip, but I only ask that they keep listening. I would actually push back on the person that says you can be happy without religion in your life or whatever, because these people are fooling themselves. They didn't leave religion behind. They just adopted the new one.
Amen.
And the new one has its own catechisms, and it is the band of drinking, swinging, and nihilism. It's a death cult out there, and you did not leave religion behind, okay? You just adopted the new politics first one in North America that worships SSRIs, sex, booze, and just self-destructive behavior and abortion. You know what I'm saying? That's all you did. So
No, that's not always. But what I do want to say is
that's why we have you here, bro, to rein it in, baby.
I think people get confused sometimes because we're just using happiness differently. We're saying the word happiness differently. I think what Jackson is saying, yeah, you can find happiness in this life, is you can find happiness in this life. But what you're saying, Carden, is that you're not going to necessarily find the things that have the same level of eternal worth, right? And the same level of eternal happiness. It's going to probably be a different kind of happiness. But back to the point that Hayden and Jackson made on the podcast, a lot of this life is about what you want and you learning to make your decisions and deciding what you're going to be like. Do you want to be like our Father in heaven, or do you want to choose another way?
No, I'm saying that when I invoke theocracy and rule with an iron fist. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
James King, I'm just going to throw in his super chat because it applies right now. He says, nailed it, Cardin.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Guys, I just don't understand what this has to do with Christian nationalism.
Okay, play the next.
Okay, we got to play this next clip or my joke doesn't make any sense to people who didn't watch the
Okay,
Let's
cool.
watch the next clip.
All right, so here is the next clip titled, What Does This Have to Do with... No, I'm just kidding. It is titled, however, Whataboutism. So here we go. Clip number 4.
Yeah. So you're sad about the rise of secularism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you sad about the rise of Christian nationalism?
What is...
What?
It's the most random. I mean,
It's not it is. It's not random because what he's always trying to do, and this was the whole interview. And I think one of the mistakes I made going into it is I thought maybe he would actually be curious about something. You know what I mean? I thought he would actually be curious about our thoughts on things. And I think that's a perfect example of he's not really curious. He's trying to find something always contrary. It was like being with my son, and this isn't meant to be demeaning to John Dehlin, but it was like when I asked my son, "Hey, do you want this?" And he's like, "No." And then I say, "Well, do you want this?" And he's like, "No." And it's like he actually wants both of them. He's just saying no because he wants to be a contrarian. And so that's what it felt like the whole time, is always just trying to come up with something else that was in opposition to what we just barely talked about. It was weird.
My favorite comment that relates to this kind of is when we were talking about, first off, if you didn't watch the whole thing, we talk about the Marine Corps and why we want to join, and he passively asked these weird questions that subtly suggest that to be a Christian and to be a Marine that would end up maybe having to fight in war for the Constitution of the United States, that those things are mutually exclusive. It was a weird line of questioning. Go back and
that's
watch
the next clip, actually. Yeah.
Okay. And then Gerardo was like, so did you wish that you were there on January 6th to defend the Capitol? And it's like, it was so out of left field.
It was weird.
He was just trying to get us, and I was like, yeah, I wish I would have told the people that was stupid, because that was a stupid thing to do. He's like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's funny. I'm going to just play one little this clip one more time. It's only 10 seconds long to give my reaction, because I think in my defense here, let's listen.
Yeah. So you're sad about the rise of secularism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you sad about the rise of Christian nationalism?
Okay, now look at that smile. He thinks he's got a gotcha, but you don't realize he just proved my thesis right. All he did was give a different name to the Satan of his new catechism.
Oh, that's
He
true.
just gave the name of his new Satan. And when you leave Christianity and you say there is no more God and the Christian God is the worst God because it's the abusive God, then what could be the most worst thing out there than the two anti-secular things out there? What is the antithesis of nihilism? Identity. The antithesis of something is identity. And what are the two things that give you the most identity? Your national identity. I am an American. I am an Argentine. I am an Oregonian. I'm a Los Angelino. It's the social fabric I share with the other children of God around me. And then also the top 3 identities that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints give us. Why do you think I am a child of God is the most translated children's song in the world? Is one of the greatest accomplishments of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is spreading the identity that you are an image bearer of God first, even before this second thing, which weaves social fabric. So he did not, as an anti-Mormon, they never fulfill Scripture. Sorry, they never refute Scripture. They only fulfill it. And they never leave religion. They only adopt a new one. And he just recited the catechism of the new secular, progressive, normie religion religion. And that's why he thought he was getting a gotcha, but he actually walked away only proving how dogmatic he is. So now, see, what do you think,
So
Hayden?
actually,
Brad.
Pardon, I want to say something to that about how dogmatic he is. It was fascinating to watch because I feel like you guys were able to ask questions that helped me understand him in a way that I haven't been able to understand before. And so much of what he said came off as so black and white in a way that I just don't think is healthy and is not. I don't think that's how we're meant to be or how we're even taught to be in the church. What would you guys say to that? Do you feel like that black and whiteness of his thinking was it a thing that he's doing for the show, or is that just how he sees the world right now?
Well, I actually brought that up off camera when we were done, and we were like just kind of all of us were like in a daze a little bit after because we were like, holy shiz, it was 6 hours. But I brought that up. I was like, I feel like you're very black and white thinking. Everything's a binary, and the reason I think that he feels the way he does about all of this stuff is because of his worldview within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had zero nuance in it. And so it became so brittle that he had to break off from that, but he still carries that black and white mindset into the outside world to some degree. And I think that a lot of us, what we've learned as we've gotten older in our faith and as we've dug into these questions and stuff, we've had to adopt nuance because we realize not everything is black and white. I don't know if John ever made that transition or tried to make that transition in his faith, where he was like trying to implement nuance into his faith, or if he just had to throw it all out because because of his black and white mindset.
Okay, Jackson, really fast. I know you had a heart out. Do we got time for another clip and some?
Yeah, I have a heart out in 40 minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
do it.
So,
Hit it.
sorry.
But I just want to hit all the clips.
Okay, no, we're gonna hit all the clips, man. Hey, we're on almost the last one, bro. We're doing really, really well.
You're doing good.
We're gonna throw in some memes. And by the way, I think now would be a good time for me to say, I like your tasteful beard. I'm getting Gladiator Russell Crowe vibes. You kind of were a baby face before, and I like you clean shaven, young. You know, but I'm not disappointed by the full blown beard.
We were all surprised.
Yeah,
we were all surprised that he was able to grow it.
You actually kind of look like the older brother now. It's interesting.
It's impressive because it's
John
hard to
did think I
do
was.
as a blonde guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, John did think Jackson was the older brother.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's
Thank
kind
you,
of cool, dude. It's kind of cool. You look like Krasinski in that movie about Benghazi. You know, good job, baby.
Yeah,
good
there
job.
we go.
So we got a couple memes. I'm not showing the first one, Jonah. He called the cops on us for a Quentin Tarantino meme. Suffice this. No,
Let's keep it tasteful, all right?
You know, it's
just to be
tasteful.
clear, we didn't make these memes, all right?
No, it's
Oh,
it's a
yes,
plenty.
you did,
coming.
Hayden. Oh, yes, you did, Hayden. You made these.
No, it's a plenty tasteful meme. It's just by experience we know we are not dealing with a reasonable person. Okay, so it's a tasteful meme. The second one is very funny though. Here's the where did this meme come from? Is this yours or somebody else's? Here we've got John Dehlin. Explain the meme. Explain the meme.
Yes. So here at Ward Radio, we at the beginning of September received another check from the presiding bishopric of the church. We're able to juice up our memography, our memographers. We have a team of memographers, around a dozen of them or so. We're looking to expand if anybody has experience in meming. And they're clicking right. I can hear they're clicking right now, coming up with these memes, crafting them. We have an oil canvas that some of them are painting on to come up with some of these memes. They have generated these memes. And this meme here that we've generated is in regards to Hayden and Jackson Paul. A quick turn for our Ward Radio audience to behold.
So here's the meme. John Dehlin getting up in bed, screaming to his father, "Dad, there's a monster under my bed." Dad comes in, looks under the bed, and there's Hayden and Jackson Paul smiling back at them.
I just think
amazing.
it's really funny. I just think it's funny because Hayden and Jackson are like really chill guys. They're like he got so upset in the interview. Like he turned at one point. I texted everybody. I remember this card, and I was like, John's turning red. Like he got sweaty and mad, and he even said at the end of the podcast, he says, "Boy, I I got really heated there. I got really mad.
You got to pull up. Give us a clip of his most angry moment, because that's actually really funny.
We got a text. Well, we got a text during the interview from a friend of both of our shows, David Butler, and he clicked on right during one of those rants, and his text message was literally just, "Are you guys okay?" Because he had no idea what was going on. He's like, "What is happening?" So, I got
Give me a
fired.
timestamp, Jonah. We will pull it up at the end of these super chats, and then the last pre-prepared clip. Oh no, and there's one more meme. Sorry, here's the second meme. It looks like there's a round table. There's a round table.
Yes, this is
in
the
this
round
meme?
table of the new internet warriors on behalf of the new digital spiritual stripling warriors here at the round table. We have Ward Radio, Thoughtful Faith, Quick Media, the Comeback Podcast. It's a sneaky one. It's a sneaky. It's so nice, but it's a sneaky little warrior there. She's she's clever. The Light and Truth Letter just joined us last week. If you hadn't seen that live stream, please go check out the Light and Truth live stream with Austin Fife. It's excellent. And we are thrilled to welcome the Stick of Joseph, which previously has just been Indiana Jonesing out in the desert, and now they are going head to head with John Dehlin, which is thrilling for everybody. So there are still spots at the round table if anybody out there wants to help out with the new age of digital offense that the Lord's Warriors are waging. We're thrilled to have Jackson and Hayden Paul join us at the round table.
Okay, Brittany, catch us up on super chats.
Okay, Taylor Vancor says, so grateful for Ward Radio and the Stick of Joseph. Anyone who watches these channels are putting on the armor of God. Ward Radio breastplates, new merch.
Oh, we're open to all good new merch ideas. With that said, I'm asking for volunteers of a designer for the Stripling Boomers shirt that will be released next month. As soon as we get the War in Heaven veteran craze over with, we're going to start making the Stripling Boomer shirts. Have you ever done an Elders Quorum move in New Balance shoes? Then you might be a Stripling Boomer, and you need a shirt to show off this blessed identity. So yeah, maybe we'll make maybe we'll make a Ward Radio, a Ward Radio breastplate in conjunction with our boys here at Stick of Joseph. Brad.
That just gave me an idea. Man, it makes me wish we could make Ward Radio bulletproof vests.
Oh, yeah.
Flak jackets, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, do I say plate carriers?
Plate carriers, yeah, exactly.
We could do a patch, though.
Yeah, dude, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Plate carrier, you know. That's rad. So next, burn through the last 5 super chats, babe. Hit them.
Okay, next one is Dector. I don't see any comment, though. Brad, do you see any comments around
Nope, thank you, Dector.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see one from Dector.
Okay. Kiori gifted 20 Ward Radio memberships.
All right, rock on. Okay.
Dang.
So W20.
Yep, Kiori, thank you very much.
W20 in the chat.
Colin Russin says, take serious seer stones battling on their turf.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, Sears in parentheses. So takes serious stones to battle on their turf, right?
I get it now. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, there we go, Brad.
I got you guys.
James King says, I just got my copy of the Light and Truth letter.
Good job, James.
Ruben Landon Dante says, if a person who believes in a higher power cannot make an hour to go to church for that higher power, perhaps their entire levels of commitment should be questioned. It's telling they should be alone.
Interesting. Okay. And then Braden Barty.
Congratulations, Paul Brothers, for enduring 6 hours of marathon podcasting with one of America's biggest condescending narcissists.
Oh, brutal.
That was salty.
That was hardcore.
Yeah.
Brendan Barty, though, we know him. He's a good dude.
Okay, next one.
James King says facepalm.
And Lad Gustafson.
Playing with a script titled LSD to LDS. Exmo takes LSD and visits 7 circles of hell. Joseph Smith is his heavenly guide. He forsakes Exmo nihilism. Spoiler, boomers are 7th circle of hell. Input? Thanks.
That's wild.
I don't even know what to
Dude.
think.
That was a lot to unpack there.
Do you know what that sounds an awful lot like, actually?
Dante's Inferno.
Not just that. I think it's called New York Doll.
Oh
It's
yes, the
about-
documentary. Yes, the
Yeah.
documentary.
which we watched in Elders Quorum in New York. And it's a documentary about a recovering alcoholic guy,
Killer Kane.
Killer Kane,
Killer
in
Kane,
the New
yeah.
York Dolls that ended up joining the church and how it like saved him. It's amazing.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
epic.
Okay, the Stoic Saint says, "Great job, Hayden and Jackson. Also, nice shirt, Cardin. That's my neck of the woods, where the Venezuelan gangs are running amok right now, thanks to godless Democrats like Dehlin."
Oh, brutal, man, brutal. No, he's not godless. He has a god,
Yes. we
and
figured that
his
out.
Satan, his god is the all-seeing eye of history. You never want to be on the bad side of history, okay? And whatever the hive mind of progressivism says is true is the new truth, and that will be worshipped. It's the same hive mind that created the CES letter. It's the same hive mind that throws the spaghetti against the walls and figure out what soundbite tomorrow they're going to use against the Paul brothers. Right now, ex-Mormon subreddit is hive minding how they're going to falsely declare victory and then repeat that lie over and over and over again until it becomes another lie, like the Solomon Spalding letter that just gets put into the washing machine that they recycle every 50 years. Okay, so it's not it's just a different religion. So it's not godlessness. It's just a new god where the new Satan is white Christian nationalism. So anyway, keep going.
Okay, Robert Hall says, "As someone worried about tribalism, any ism, that was such a stupid non sequitur.
Non sequitur. They
non
misspelled
sequitur
it. Yeah.
From Dehlin. Ironically, a tribalistic line of questioning from him."
Yes, that's true. And then next question is the last one.
Okay, well, I gotta go back to YouTube because that was just my screenshot. So
Okay, this one says, "I am a U.S. Navy veteran. I would love a hat, please. I did 13 years. All right, well, check it out, my man. There should be another coupon for you. In fact, I can't read your
It's
avatar.
Grisha
name.
Fascia.
It's Grisha Fascia. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's an honor system, so I'm believing that you're a Navy veteran of 13 years. If it says that you can't use the coupon because it's already used up, I will put one more in there just for you so you can get a hat as well. Or actually, no, there's one coupon code left that still gives you 10% off. And Brittany, which one was it? It was Light and Truth 10. I think it's Light and Truth 10 still has two.
That one's still up.
Yeah, that one still has two coupons left in that code. So anyway, all right, we're going into the last clip now, right? Are we on the last
Depending on
clip?
what it is, it might be second to last, but
Oh yes,
Well,
you're right.
I found a couple more, but
Oh,
we're
you
gonna
did.
do the next clip is questioning the questioner. So guys, this is what never happens on Mormon Stories. If you want to see the first time ever that someone is pushed back, John Dehlin gets to sit. He just gets to sit up high and just throw rocks down at people. He just gets to kick stuff down and then go, "Hey, your stuff's broken. How come your stuff's broken? Why'd your stuff break?" Right? That's all he does. And Hayden and Jackson, Hayden kept his cool. I was very impressed. And he paused, and then he turned it right back around. Here's the clip.
Okay, so here's questioning the questioner.
How do you synthesize your beliefs in Jesus with how violent war is?
Yeah.
You know? I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question. It's a good one. I guess a question I'd love to get your thoughts on it too. A thought that I have is, what in an instance where there is a threat to the bodily harm of people, what do you think is, so do you think the Christian view or the Christ view would just be like, let people mow people down, or like if there's like a tyrannical government or something like that? What are your thoughts on it? What do you think Christ would be? Because I'm just trying to understand what you mean by it doesn't seem like there's any way to reconcile them.
I mean,
Now-
again, if you believe in the Book of Mormon, then
Now-
clearly prophets are all cool with war.
Mhm.
You know, how do you synthesize? the
Oh.
beliefs
So
in Jesus?
so at some point he says, Hayden keeps pushing him and saying, "What do you think? What do you think?" And Dehlin says, "Look, this podcast isn't. My viewers will be upset if I give my opinion. I don't want to give my opinion." And it's like, well, that's a real convenient place to sit, isn't it? Where you just get to bomb everyone else's beliefs and never have to answer for your own. You know. So
Can you play again really quickly what he said?
Okay, here
At
we
the
go.
end there.
Jesus with how violent war is.
What are your thoughts on it? What do you think Christ would be? Because I'm just trying to understand what you mean by it doesn't seem like there's any way to reconcile them.
I mean, again, if you believe in the Book of Mormon,
Mm-hmm.
then clearly prophets are all cool with war.
Oh, yeah. If you believe the Book of Mormon.
Okay, I'm glad we
What?
replayed that. Because, bro, holy crap. I mean, I'm really glad you guys got him to mention the fact that he hasn't read the Book of Mormon in, like, since
Ever?
2001. Since 2001, which, okay, another thing on that in just a second. But this is very clear. This shows that he hasn't read that, because just because there are war chapters in the Book of Mormon does not mean that the Book of Mormon offers a full-throated endorsement of war at all times.
Quite the opposite. Yeah.
It's showing all of these situations in which war is horrible and the worst possible option, and how it ended a society. Like,
And it gives a formula for how to avoid it. It goes beyond Matthew 15 or Matthew 8. I can't remember which scripture says, like, if thy brother offend thee, go and you might win thy brother, speak to him privately. And if that doesn't work, go with a couple of witnesses, and then hopefully you'll win his heart. And then if that doesn't work, come with the church. And if he's not corrected, then let him be anathema to you, right? I totally butchered that scripture, but we all know the one that I'm talking about, okay? It also says in the book of Alma, you cannot be guilty of the first offense, nor the second. But if after the third, like, there's no other option, then build ramparts around your family and your religion and your God and your nation. And it actually gives kind of what the Catholics actually called in the Middle Ages, like the prescription of righteous war. I can't remember, but it gives an actual formula for engaging righteously in this regard. So also, I'm just going to play the beginning of this really fast because there's something else I noticed here, man.
How do you synthesize
Can you guys hear me?
your beliefs?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
Hey.
Finally, quick.
Carden, before you do that, I have to open with one joke, and I don't know if anyone's going to get it, but there's at least one person watching that's going to get it. If John Dehlin thinks the Book of Mormon is condoning war, that would make sense, because last time I was with him, he was reading To Kill a Mockingbird, and he told me to go bust up a shiffer robe. I knew it. We got one joke. We got one person.
To bust up a shiffer robe. I have
Pretty
no idea.
obviously the moral of the book, right?
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Brad, did you get it? Did you get it, Brad?
It's been a long time. Oh, Brad is muted. Brad, what'd you say?
The word shiffer robe.
That's funny. Yes.
I love that was just used. See, if anyone ever says WardRadio doesn't have a good vocabulary
Yes,
or
thank you.
understanding of the word,
There was a
of the
Reddit
world.
thread about that yesterday.
Oh yeah,
There's a Reddit thread posted yesterday about how WardRadio uses intense vocabulary, and they don't understand why we talk the way we do.
Oh, interesting.
well, Schifferobe is gonna one up anything they've seen.
Oh, and here's
Take
one
that.
for our David Butler fans. Thank you, Hayden and Jackson Paul, for hooking us up with David Butler and Mike Day. What's the word that I am going to use? Jonah and Paul. Jonah, Jackson, and Hayden.
Hapax legomenon.
Oh no, that's another great one.
Boostrophodontically.
Boostrophodontically. That the book of Isaiah and Deuteronomy have parts that can be read boostrophodontically.
That's
So yes,
Oh,
that's a good
dang.
one. All right, so here's
All
the
right,
beginning of the
in
clip.
In Jesus, with how violent war is.
Yeah.
You know. I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question. It's a good one. I guess a question I'd love to get your thoughts on it too.
No, wait, we
Christ
got
would
to
be, 'cause
forward.
I'm just trying to understand what you mean by
How do you synthesize your beliefs in Jesus with how violent war is?
yeah.
Okay, so I will just say this right now. You know what? We're going to go on to the next clip because this would be going into very minor details and so on and so forth. But I would say there is nothing that makes me believe John Dehlin is an actual pacifist. I believe that this is just a soundbite that has worked. It's one of the pieces of spaghetti that has been thrown against the wall, and it's a virtue signal. Because let me tell you, they're willing to go to war. They burnt half the city of Los Angeles down during the BLM riots. They burnt half of Maryland down the 2 years before that. These people love war. They love violence as long as it's in the name of their God and against their Satan of white Christian nationalism, because you're not leaving religion, you're only joining a new one. Also, I'm just really happy that I stopped this clip where he's frowning. Like, there's just something perfect about that where I stopped it. Very unflattering, but funny. So what's the next clip that we're going to, Jonah? What's the next clip
Okay,
we're
so
going
the
to?
next clip, and I know you didn't notice that you didn't ask me or Quinka what we think about war. Yeah, that's fine. That's
Oh,
fine.
yeah, okay, fine. Go for it.
No.
Go for it, pacifist Jonah.
This isn't all about how you're wrong about everything. But the next clip is just a timestamp. This is a clip from John Dehlin towards the end of the podcast, where he kind of admits that he got a bit heated. There's some awkward pause in there, and Jackson and Hayden just stare him down, and it's pretty good. So
okay, so here we go. Oops, wrong. The link didn't work. Now it works. Okay, here we go.
I got heated. I got a little heated today.
It's all good.
Yeah, look at that. Silence is like this 10-second stare down. Until finally he's like,
I got a little heated.
Yeah, I got a little heated.
It's all good.
Yeah, you sure did. And then the next clip is, I tried to find one of him getting heated. I found kind of two sections where he got a little bit heated. This is off the top, so there's probably better snippets in there. But there were a few times when he looked like he was sweating hot red and pretty angry that these two millennials weren't rolling over for wise John Dehlin. So the next these are just timestamps, so you have to stop them or they're going to play forever.
So here we go.
And God's telling the Mormon church that this guy right next to me is evil because he's loving who he wants to love. All of that flows to the Mormon God. And I'm like, that's not a God I want to worship. A God that's saying that my buddy Gerardo here is living evilly. So like my view of God is poisoned or tainted by what the Mormon church taught me about God.
Oh man, we got to find a better clip. That was only
Try the next
20%. That was only 20% heated.
Look, I'm off the cuff here, man.
Yeah,
I didn't have this prepared ahead of time. I'm trying to find him as I'm live streaming.
Yeah, Hayden and Jackson, give us a better clip, man. Give us a better clip. Here's the second one. Let's see here. Here's the second one. Visit site. Boom.
That's a similar scenario.
So I think I hear what you guys are saying. You're basically saying that Mormon heaven has a celestial kingdom, a terrestrial, a telestial, and an outer darkness, and that God, Heavenly Father, Elohim, didn't create that. That design of heaven is this eternal design that no one ever created, just forever and ever.
It's based
somehow
in
in the
objective
universe,
truth.
somehow in the universe of all mankind and humankind's existence, there was some rule that heaven has to be 3 levels and an outer darkness. And anyone who becomes a god, that's the heaven that has to be there because some magical thing in the universe said that heaven needs to be constructed that way.
That was a really long straw man. Okay, another 10 seconds.
Sorry, I'm trying to find these on the
No, it's all
but
good.
Hayden Jackson,
I'm
I think
saying
you're
that
muted,
there
guys.
is-
What'd you say? Sorry, Jonah, say it.
Sorry,
Oh,
one
okay.
thing I want to say about this is it's funny because you see John Dehlin switch from multiple, like he reads all scripture, it has to be literal. So he doesn't allow for any nuance or metaphorical readings of scriptures ever, right? And so he takes ideas, and I have my personal opinion on D&C 76 and what the 3 levels of heaven are. I don't think that there's an actual, I don't think there's a wall dividing. I think it's more like it's a long nuance thing I'm not going to go into, but the thing is he reads all of the scriptures and he says the only way forward is to take them all literally. And it's really frustrating because I think that I don't think that any of our ancients who practice these religions necessarily took everything literally or wrote histories to be taken as a literal interpretation. So he creates a bubble that everything has to fit in, and that's what he makes look ridiculous, is his conceptualization of how things should be looked at on something that he doesn't actually believe in the first place.
Okay, now
It's
also
like Nicodemus, right? I have to crawl back into my mother's womb? Like, that's just kind of what it reminds me of.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
yeah. That's
So
good.
now,
and it felt like to me this was another example of his like hyper rigid black and white view of everything that the church has to say, and then saying, and I saw comments saying similar things to this, that like the church that you guys are describing isn't the one that he was raised in, right? And saying, which is kind of crazy to me because I don't know, my dad is very much this way, and I think he's a similar age. And so I don't know. It's just, I feel like there's been more flexibility in the church than is necessarily pointed to. Sure, there have been rigid people in the church.
or maybe it's just dishonesty motivated by hatred, where you're willing to rewrite history in order to try and get more points on your side of an argument because you're motivated by an animus against the Mormon church.
I have something not as mean as what Cardin said, but meaner than what Brad said.
Awesome.
So I kind of look at it as like every time, and I got this when I in the comment section of the live stream comments when I was on Kara Burrell's show and on the Jubilee, which was, you know, what they're describing, that's not how it was, and that's not how it was taught to me when I was younger. What is the difference between that and like when Fox News rolls the clip of the guy on the street and he's like, when I was young, we didn't have all these Venezuelans coming into this, because that's not how it was when I was growing up. Like that isn't an arbiter on what's actually true or moral or good just because it's not something you experienced. Like, why do they think that their, like, what was their personal worldview and the description of their worldview must be the prescription of everybody else? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like they double down. That's
Yeah.
not how it was taught to me. That's not how, it doesn't matter.
And so,
And the thing that I really want to get across is like, yes, we acknowledge that there are people who were raised in a very black and white sort of view of the gospel, but there were plenty of people who were also not raised that way. That this is not something like you guys brought this up well in the actual debate, or well, not really debate, the
Conversation,
interview,
yeah.
or in the conversation, as you were talking about how Laman and Lemuel and Nephi and Sam were all raised in the same family, but they had very different experiences, right? And so I think I want to double down on that very thing. Just because you were raised in the church and you had a certain experience does not mean everyone else had that same experience, right?
Yeah, and he could turn that around on us as well, right? He can say, well, you guys have had this experience, but
Yeah.
the point is, and we try to drill this down super hard, and he was just like super squirrely about it. We try to ask him if he believes that there's an objective truth. And we had like a pretty long back and forth about that idea. And it just comes down to, I don't think he does believe in an objective truth. And so that means his subjective experience can be plastered upon the whole world. And then that's what's true. Where all of us, we're acting in a place where we think that there is an objective truth. So when we're talking about things, we're doing it as a way to try to find out. And there's that back and forth trying to get to the objective truth, where for him, there is no going back and forth and trying to find out, because whatever your subjective experience is the full truth. And that was one of the difficult things that we got to. But Jackson's got to bounce here soon. But there's one clip that I sent you, Cardin, in the Discord, the Stick of Joseph Discord. And it's the most recent one. It's just a timestamp. But this was probably, I think, the most poignant point that was made.
Rewind like 5 seconds on that timestamp.
Yes. I'm going to pull it up right now and go back 5 seconds.
Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
Because you
So,
gave an idea.
obviously-
About,
Wait, hold on. Okay, so this is at 3. Oh my gosh. His freaking conversations are so long that if you can't go back 5 seconds.
Yeah.
If you bump it 1 pixel,
Yeah.
it goes
You
back
gotta
like
use
30
the
minutes. So-
Arrow.
The
Push
arrow.
the arrow on the thing, and we'll go back 10. So
Okay,
that'll
here
be
we
good,
go.
though.
Tell us.
It's the way I deal with my children. When my children goof up, I don't go, "Oh, Winston, you screwed up. Let me punish Maya really bad because Maya's more good. Let me punish Maya really bad, and then you can pray to me through Maya and receive forgiveness for what you've done because Maya suffered for you." No, what I do is I say, "Hey, Winston, hey, listen, you just punched your sister in the face. How do you think that made her feel?" You
Jeez,
teach,
Winston.
You instruct. you make it a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
You develop empathy with them, and then hopefully over time they develop the desire and the conviction to not punch their sister anymore. So it's a learning opportunity.
Tell me when
Didn't
to
he
stop.
make his daughter sleep in a warehouse for like a month?
What? What?
Didn't he like banish Maya Dehlin into like a warehouse for like a month when she was a teenager? She was acting up, and it got put all over social media about how Maya Dehlin talked about how her dad John literally made her sleep in a cold warehouse for like a month.
I have not heard that.
I cannot.
I'm not like the Abrahamic God. I wouldn't ask for a crucifixion. I would just banish you into the valley of desolation. You hear that? Great. Look,
Well, that's much better.
don't quote me on that. You can do your own Googling. I'm not sure. It could have been a troll. Who knows? All I know is there was like a bunch of kerfuffle about that. But okay, fine. He doesn't believe the atonement is valid. Is valid. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
Yeah,
And that's your fault now, Jackson, Wayne, and Halen. It's your fault.
And Carden, I need you to play the clip that is right above that. It's not a timestamp. It's from a different thing. And this is where Jackson asked this poignant question. And this, I think, was the crux. This is like if we were to walk away where we were like, okay, this is clearly kind of what's happening. It was this conversation we had. So just play that clip.
Okay, cool. I'm going to play. I hope we're talking about the same one. I think it's this one right here. Go.
We all have positive feelings about Jesus, but it's actually, the atonement is actually an insidious doctrine because it's all based on a deficit model of your brokenness and you needing someone to make you clean and to make you whole.
Whoa.
So he says that the atonement is insidious, and then previously in that clip that you just barely played of the interview, I said, okay, God, John Dehlin, since you say it's insidious, the atonement, you being God, what is the better way? What would you do as God? And then he says, it would be a doctrine of learning. When my kids would do something bad, I'd teach them with empathy and all that stuff. And then we get into talking about, I'm not going to have you play the rest of the clip, but we get into talking about justice and mercy. And he's like, yeah, why does there have to be justice and mercy? I'm like, and then I said, because the scriptures say so. He's like, there's no such thing as like God talking in the scriptures, blah, blah, blah. And then the thing about it was Hayden asked a killer question. He's like, so in your,
If I'm trying to understand right, what you're saying that it should be instead of the atonement, what you're saying is that everyone should just be saved no matter what, and not one soul would be lost.
This is great. Yeah.
And he's like, sure, that sounds better than torturing, a blameless, unblemished lamb. And then Hayden's like, that's not the first time that's been conceptualized, right?
I use conceptualize way too much. I'm sorry.
And then you were like, when that has been, like, that idea was kind of invented. He's like, oh, yeah, Korihor? Who? He's like, no, Lucifer.
Oh, dude.
And so, dude, here's the thing. This is the thing about it all. That just plastered that on every billboard. John Dehlin quoted Lucifer without me.
On accident.
On accident.
No.
Okay, that's all you need to know. And I'm getting so fired up right now about it because the fruits of it, and I have to leave as well, but the fruits of Mormon Stories Podcast is exactly what you're seeing with the top anti-LDS apologists. More Kara Burrell, Nuance Ho, and Zelf on the Shelf. If you didn't see, Kara Burrell posted on her Instagram just a little bit ago talking about how her and Zelf on the Shelf and her husband opened up their marriage and they started living a polyamorous relationship.
The swinging, drinking, and nihilism. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so funny they criticize Joseph Smith for polygamy when they end up living a lower form of it with none of the responsibility and all of the indulgence and sexual activity. It's so sad to see that the fruits of Mormon Stories Podcast have been this sad secularist society. And I feel so bad for John Dehlin because I think he's watching it play out before his eyes and he feels so conflicted about it.
And I mean, if you're going to go public about swinging right now, you don't do it when Taylor Frankie Paul is doing it. You'll get drowned out. You got to wait a little bit. You know what I mean?
It's so sad. Yeah.
If I was swinging, I would not have my swinging compete against Taylor Frankie Paul.
Yeah,
swinging.
rookie move, right?
You
Rookie
can't beat
mistake,
those
right?
ratings.
Yeah,
you
and I
can't beat
think
those ratings.
I think that was so poignant because we're not saying that John Dehlin is Lucifer. What we're saying is that, and this is why I love this point. It's not because John Dehlin is Satan. And I'm not saying that he is. The reason is because nothing that is being said on his show is new. That was the argument at the very beginning in the War in Heaven that all of these people are getting their sweet hats about, right? Yeah. And he accidentally brings up this idea that he thinks is like new, and he's like, the atonement doesn't make any sense. We should just do it this way. And it just happens to be the exact same idea that was brought up from the beginning.
And Hayden, just to double down on something that you said that I don't know if they understood, you were talking about how one way that you remove agency isn't by forcing people into making choices. It's by removing the consequences of their choices. And that sounded an awful lot like what John Dehlin was espousing.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
and not to get you deep here, but do you guys think that maybe because of John Dehlin's like black and white thinking, he's viewing the atonement as if God was murdering Jesus, this innocent person, and was using the people like as robots to do it, when it's more so God knew that they would murder Jesus because of like the ego and pride of their hearts. Like at the same time, we killed Jesus. Like it was human beings. It wasn't God that like when they asked the Judeans, when Pontius Pilate's like, hey, this guy didn't do anything, and if I let him go to you, you'd have to let someone go, and you're not going to let Barabbas go. Barabbas is a serial murderer. And they go, give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas. And Pontius Pilate's like, oh my gosh, these people are like, as humans, we killed Jesus. Like, and so this very same like innocent people he's talking about, like, oh well, we're innocent and we're not. No, that's that same like seemingly innocent humanity is the humanity that did kill Jesus. The very thing he's saying is so cruel and unacceptable. So he's pinning it all on God, but it kind of shows the ego of man is what's going to crucify the embodiment of perfection every time. So I feel like he's not understanding that human aspect of it, and he's just saying, oh, God did it. It was God. No, we did it.
And Chris Murphy in the comments, okay, you're not understanding this as well. He said, John never said compel people to follow the rules. We're not saying that. That was not Satan's plan. How do you take away someone's agency? If you make it so that there's no bad, if you take away sin at all, then they have no choice. They can't choose good because there is no bad. They have no choice. It's just what it is.
And that's why I read those scriptures in 2 Nephi 2. And a lot of people have commented, they're like, you can't use. I had a guy that was in my mission that was like my AP in my mission. Dude, he sent this message where he was like, you made an absolute embarrassment of yourself. And he just like went hard. Like, you can't use scriptures to argue with stuff like that. And then he was like, hey, I hope you're doing good, by the way. It was a really weird interaction. But we're not using scriptures to try to convince John. What we use the scriptures for is to explain the theology that he is trying to debunk, because that is one of the main things that I tried to point out as much as I could, that John is arguing against a Protestant conceptualization, which I know I said it way too dang much.
Codified.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah, I used it right though. I never use conceptualization wrong. But that he argues against a Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox version of God, not the Latter-day Saint version of God. And we like went down this road for like 30 minutes where he kept saying stuff, and I'm like, no. You're going back into the Protestant version of God. You are arguing against the wrong religion. That's why we read from the scriptures, is because we're trying to make clear what the scriptures say as he tries to not quote anything from the scriptures, if that makes sense.
Okay, Kwaku, you want to say something? I can tell, and then I want to welcome Hayden to a very special club. And then Jackson, you got to leave within 10, and Hayden, can you stay?
Yeah, I can stay.
Yeah.
Okay, if you gotta go,
leave in
after
like 10
Kwaku,
as well.
just give me some final words, and then I'll be
okay, cool.
Well,
Awesome.
we got another meme, people. We're not calling this off without the last meme, so hurry up.
Well, so
I got to leave with Hayden too. So
You're not going anywhere, Kwaku. You're not going anywhere until we get to this last
okay.
meme.
Well, then let me say my piece here, because Kwaku's gonna want to hear this. But Hayden, I'd like to welcome you to the club. Brad and Kwaku were there when you've had the chance to catch an anti-Mormon in a debate quoting John Dehlin, Lucifer, and who did RFM quote? Do you guys remember this? Did you ever watch that?
He quoted
Cain.
quoted
yeah.
Cain.
Yes. It's like,
yeah, that was epic, dude.
I literally said,
I'm not my brother's keeper. Isn't that what he said?
Basically, he was asked by RFM was asked by Sean McCraney, when you tear down somebody's faith and you leave them in nihilism and they descend into nihilism and self-harm and depression, what kind of responsibility do you feel? And he basically made a First Amendment argument that I'm not in charge of these people. They're adults. I have the gift of free speech. And he became a scribe and a Pharisee. I'm sorry, I meant a modern lawyer. And he just ended up saying, I'm not in charge of these people. And then I just turned to him and I said, next time you're arguing with members of the church, maybe you shouldn't quote Cain and say, I am not my brother's keeper. So we caught RFM and basically Bill Reel, his counterpart, quoting Cain. And you just caught John Dehlin, the other high priest of the old guard of anti-Mormonism, quoting Lucifer. We have done this together, friends.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Kwaku, you had something that's wild.
No, well, I want to commit. I didn't get to finish the whole interview. I watched the beginning of it, but Hayden, you were very, very stoic the whole time. You just kind of, I think you treated John with respect, but you also looked at him like your eyes were saying, "You are my enemy." And I'm not sure if you meant it.
Are you talking about Jackson or me? Are you talking about Jackson?
I'm talking about both of you.
Oh, both of us. Okay. Yeah.
And that might just be like you're in the military. So
I
you're
have
just kind of trained
RBF,
to do
dude.
that.
I have hardcore RBF.
But I do think what was very, very, very like it was captivating. It was that you got, and maybe you already covered this where I got in, but it was an actual dialogue. It wasn't an interview because you guys were asking him questions. You were doing the let me answer your question with a question, and you'll notice he got flustered because he's not used to being asked questions like that. He's used to only doing the interrogating.
Yep.
So he got kind of flustered, and I think this just shows it's easy to be a critic.
Mm-hmm.
It's super easy to be a critic and tear things down, but can you build anything? Right when you get there and so what is the best plan for the redemption of mankind? Well, everyone should just be saved and that's that. Okay, well, what about Hitler? You know what I mean? Like, what about bin Laden? Like, what do you do when there are serious bad
Not
apples?
everyone's making mistakes. There are actual evil people.
Yes.
I have done things that weren't mistakes, that were just wrong, that I did that I knew were wrong. It's different than your kid messing up. So his metaphor was terrible. Sorry, continue, Kwaku.
His metaphor really did not allow for actual justice because it didn't allow for actual sin.
Then, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens is when you talk yourself out of a belief in God and you just have this, just the here and now, and that's it. You don't have anything to offer. Like, what's the real philosophical offer? What do you have? You don't have anything. You know, they say critics have never built a cathedral, and they never will, because you need to be tapped into that higher potential to be able to say, okay, fine. I don't know if Adam and Eve are 6,000 years old. I don't think it really matters. It's like, well, it says 6,000. It says it. I'm talking about John. You don't I think he probably did understand church doctrine, but I think after breaking it down so much, he now has a caricature of and it's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and everyone else is just believes it's just a fourth grader. I mean, so I think you guys did a phenomenal job. I do think he's probably going to be thinking about that interview for the rest of the night because he got frustrated. But it just shows critics can't build a cathedral. At the end of the day, the thing Mormon Stories can build the most is just destruction. And you guys are, everyone here is really building something like an actual foundation, a real building, and we're not just tearing down. So I think it just shows, if you are an anti, you don't have anything to offer. Might be harsh. I know Bill Reel's going to clip that, but you don't have anything to offer to actually build.
Yeah, when we offered a metaphor while we were there about this was our idea of what Mormon Stories is in metaphor form. It is, hey, look at this engine. It doesn't work perfectly, and it kind of sucks sometimes. Let's take it all apart, and I'll show you how. Okay, thanks for watching. And that's what it is. He takes the engine out of your car, breaks it all apart, and then doesn't show you how to build it back together. And that's why it's easy to be a critic. That's why this postmodernism, deconstruction ideology is so easy and so attractive because it requires very little thought and skill. Jackson, I know you got to go.
Yeah, I was about to say, Jackson, wrap this up. We only got 10 minutes left in the live stream, so if you have any other super chats and any other comments you want to get through, make sure you get them out because we're going to be out in 10 minutes ourselves. So Jackson, hit us, my man.
Yeah. All I'll say is, look, if you are like Jonah and you're sick in the head and watch 6 hours of what happened, good on you. But for those of you that don't have that kind of time, look, I realized after watching it back, like, it wasn't perfect. And in retrospect, like, I'm like kicking myself, like, why didn't I push back harder on this or stuff like that?
Say that.
But the main themes right there was the clip that we just talked about. And I love what you just said, Kwaku, because in the lunch that we had with John Dehlin, and I mentioned this in the interview, he said that he has tried time and time again to build a strong community that is based on good morals in a secular form, and it always fails. And this is what I just want everyone watching to remember, is that Jesus Christ is the rock. And if you build your foundation on the rock of salvation in Jesus Christ, I'm going to tell you that the winds are going to come forth. Like, just go read.
The comment section is going to come forth.
Okay? Yeah. Like, don't worry about it. I will be a martyr all day on the internet for advocating for the doctrine of Jesus Christ and how beautiful the atonement was. And, he said, yeah, to build a community, you have to have, a certain amount of guilt and shame to keep people obedient. And I said, you know what, John, how about faith and love?
Yes, that was a great part.
How about look at something positive and aspire to be something greater, like Jesus Christ? How about we, focus on the positives instead of this weird view of the gospel that is just guilt and shaming you into submission? Or how about it's giving you the tools to overcome your mistakes and your past self? And so with that, God bless. Jesus is King. And
trademark Kanye West.
No, trademark Kanye West.
You know what else is trademarked by Kanye West?
Oh no!
No.
Don't go there.
All right. Okay.
Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
Thanks, Jackson.
So
Okay, we have another meme or two in here. First,
Okay,
there's
I get to go too. We'll see you guys.
okay,
See you,
cool.
Kwaku.
Thank
Love
you,
you, man.
Thank you,
See
my
you, Kwaku.
man. So
Oh, it's good to have Kwaku back. We missed Kwaku.
yes, very much so.
I gotta go too.
Oh gosh, stop it, guys. Stop it.
I
All right.
can't-
We got 10 minutes left. We're finishing this up. We got the memes, we got the super chats, all right, and we got Hayden here. Okay, so we're just gonna burn through this really fast. The memes, Jonah, hit it really fast.
So there's one meme at the bottom of the general Discord there, Cardin. You'll see it. It compares two types of breakdancing.
It compares two types of breakdancing. Okay, so here it is. Just saw it. Here on the left is the Paul brothers on John Dehlin, and on the right, so here's a good breakdancer on the
Is this
left.
the
that
Olympic
says, yeah, Paul brothers on John Dehlin, and then Patrick Mason on John Dehlin. Oh, savage! Oh no! What do you think of
But
that
it's
one?
true.
What do you think of
But
that
it's
one?
so true.
What do you think of that one, Hayden? What do you think of this guy
Oh my
right here?
gosh. Patrick Mason is a nice guy.
All right,
You know
moving
what I
on.
mean? Like,
That's
So,
true. And at
What I
least he
have to
pushed
say.
back. He did push back against us being called a cult. So there's that.
Yes, he did.
Oh, well, wow.
Oh,
What a brave thing to
jeez.
do.
That's so
Wow.
cute.
Good job, Patrick.
You'd
Good
almost think
job.
that he was a member of the church defending it. Wow, you'd almost
You
confuse
almost-
him
yeah.
for that.
You'd almost get the impression
You
he was
know?
a member of this church, you know?
Just okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the last part, we were just talking about tearing down versus building up. There's a little snippet from the Light and Truth letter. You can look at
Okay.
the Light and Truth letter online. There's an ebook. It's free.
Yeah.
And I just go there and check it out online. Talking about building up versus tearing down. Now, the
Yes.
author of this is on the High Council, and he wrote this. So if he can say it, I can say it. It begins with this quote: "Any jackass can kick a barn down, but it takes a good carpenter to build one up. It's easy to have critic privilege like John does and tear things down." And Hayden called him out on it. And Jackson called him out on it and said, "Oh yeah, what have you ever built?"
Ooh,
Nothing.
brutal. How did that
Nothing.
go? Hayden, how did that go? How well was
Well,
that received?
we didn't necessarily say that exactly, but we pointed out that
In those words.
you can destroy something. It's really easy to destroy something. And, the main point that we try to make, because it is the answer to all of the questions that he was going to put forth about LGBT issues or anything like that, is we tried to center on the fact that the whole purpose of the gospel is to make us co-creators with God. And so anything that the only way to do that is to dispense with destruction and to aim towards creation. And so that is in the end our highest potential, is to create. And so I think that's one reason why, and I'm having this thought right now live. That's why Latter-day Saints don't have, every once a month they have like their sermon on how to take down Catholics or how to take down Baptists or how to take down atheists, is because we're too focused on creation. We're too focused on building the Sistine Chapels that Kwaku brought up. That is our main focus. And I wish the rest of Christianity would wake up to that they would wake up to the idea that to be like God and to follow Christ is to become a creator, not a destroyer. I don't need to destroy anyone's faith in anything else. I share our faith because I believe that its principles are inspiring and can take anyone where they're at and elevate them to a co-creator with God.
Oh, that is awesome.
Amen.
Okay,
That's the most empowering message, seriously. And that was the thing that I don't know why John couldn't seem to grasp that when you kept bringing it up. It was fascinating because the entire time he kept on talking about how the church is like catching up to science, and he talked as if science has been out here just batting 1,000.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
Like, dude, are you unaware that that science said lobotomies were a good idea for a decent amount of time there? Like, this is not a thing that science is always the right thing and the church is always wrong. I wanted to bring up that Russell M. Nelson himself, our prophet, he has said that pure religion and pure science, they're not going to disagree. When we understand both completely, they'll be in alignment. And I feel like that was a thing that he just had zero space for, because this is something that we know we can figure out and move forward. He approached it as though all of these things are like just known completely, right? He actually brought up horses being a point against the Book of Mormon, like showing again that he does not know about the more recent stuff showing, oh, hey, there were actually horses in this part of the Mesoamerican area where the Book of Mormon may have taken place.
No.
And ignoring all the stuff that you've done about like everything in the old world. He did say he doesn't care about Nahum for some reason, but
dude,
like,
and we had a realization halfway through like the conference with that. And one reason people might be like, why didn't you guys push back on the Book of Mormon evidences stuff? And it's because it was near the end, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I could push back on that, and I just sat there and I was like, there's nothing that is worth saying to him right now. And that's why I just said, if you're interested in good Book of Mormon evidences and you want to check it out, go to the Stick of Joseph. Because I was just like, there's going to be zero productive conversation here, because it was just, yeah.
Okay. We got 5 minutes left. We got 5 minutes left here, and we got to read a buttload of super chats. I might have to burn through half, and Brittany will burn through half. But finish what you had to say, Jonah.
I was going to say, if you bring up scripture notes,
got it.
Which everybody should have scripture notes. Alma chapter 30, verse 53. I think this is one of the most important verses in all of Scripture. This could be the most important verse in all of Scripture for your like day to day. Okay, it's Korihor, and it goes like this. Okay,
Alma chapter 30, what?
Chapter 30, verse 53.
Okay, gotcha.
Listen to what Korihor says. Okay, this is after he's been struck dumb. He says, "But behold, the devil hath deceived me, for he appeared unto me in the form of an angel and said unto me, Go and reclaim this people, for they have all gone astray after an unknown God. And he said unto me, There is no God, yea, and he taught me what I should say." So he's admitting now the devil deceived me. He says, "And I taught his words, and I taught them because they were pleasing unto the carnal mind. And I taught them even until I had much success, insomuch that I verily believed that they were true." Korihor convinced himself of his own lie. And this is something, it's a temptation that tempts us all. We tempt ourselves, we tell ourselves, hey, it's not a problem. I'm not hurting anybody by watching pornography. Hey, I'm not hurting anybody by lying behind my wife's back. I'm just mean to this stranger I'll never see again. Or they're telling themselves, yeah, I was abused as a child when they know they weren't. Or that the church is harmful when they know it isn't. But they tell themselves until they convince themselves of the lie. Okay? And this is what I believe John Dehlin has done. He's convinced himself that the church is harmful to LGBT people. That is demonstrably not true. The data bears that out. But he's told himself this. The Book of Mormon is just false. I don't care about Nahum. I don't care. And he's just convincing himself of these things like Korihor did, like we all are tempted to do. So anyways, that's the last thing I'll say about John Dehlin.
All right. Awesome. So, babe, burn us through these super chats. You got to read them super fast because they're super chats, and we only got like 3.5 minutes left. Thank you to everybody that has contributed with these super chats thus far. Hit it, babe.
Okay. Ryan English, I need a fitted version of the veteran hat. One size fits all. Don't fit on my giant head.
All right. In response to that, we're going to work on that. I think FlexFit might make a double XL, but the fitted hats were made first because they did fit the most amount of people. But we also just made a small order of FlexFit versions that will be coming out soon because we had our boy requested a small medium because he said the exact opposite problem. He says the regular snapback hats fit my head like they're too big. So yes, we're going to be working on people with big heads and small heads soon. Brittany.
You need Jaredite-sized hats.
Yeah, we need Jaredite-sized hats. Exactly. Rock on. Keep
Height
going.
like unto a dish. Okay. The Stoic Saint. Okay, he may not be godless, but he is gutless, like most liberals.
We know this guy, who he's voting for.
Yeah.
We know who he's voting for.
Kamala.
All right.
Obviously.
Okay.
James King, Army veteran of approximately 30 years. Does that count?
Yeah, dude, that totally counts.
I would say 40, but yeah, 30.
Yeah.
30's a little light.
It's just
Whatever.
Kiori, Cardin, read Alma 43:46 on Scripture Notes.
All right. Alma 43:46 on Scripture Notes. Keep going, and I will look that up.
Okie dokie. Minor Prophet Ian Malcolm. Hoorah, Devil Dogs, you got him?
All right.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, good job.
Robert Hall, John Dehlin entering the temple be like, time to remove the Nehushtan.
Oh, the
Nehushtan.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Jerry Grover. I am 61, so even predate Dehlin. I was actually at the McConkie devotional as a geologist who had no problem with evolution.
All right. Good job, Jerry Grover.
Wait, are you saying that there were people who were members of the church who had a different experience than John Dehlin?
Oh my goodness. And heard the same things? And dude, that was one thing that we pointed out too, is it's like, I think I asked him in the interview, I was just like, well, you know people that are your age that grew up in the same church and in the same ward as you, and they're not all out of the church. And so like what is the difference between their experiences and yours? Or maybe is it just their ability to live in nuanced faith instead of having such black and white mindset?
Or he's convinced himself. He's rewritten his memories. He's lied to himself. Now he believes his own lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And here's 43:46 really fast. And they were doing that which they felt was the duty which they owed their God, for the Lord had said unto them, and also unto their fathers, that inasmuch as ye are not guilty of the first offense, neither the second, ye shall not suffer yourselves to be slain by the hands of your enemies. Thank you very much, Scripture Notes, for that reference, as well as whoever for the super chat. Thank you. Keep going, Brittany.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Jerry Grover. David O. McKay sent a letter that the church had no position on evolution. There was a lot more difference of opinion among leaders then.
All right. Excellent. Next.
Living Mom Birth. Thank you very much for this summary. I can't stand to listen to Crazy Man Dehlin for more than 30 seconds.
Oh, not crazy. Anti-Mormon.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Definitely not crazy.
Look, I'm just reading what the people are writing, all right?
Yeah, okay, cool.
Well, I actually do appreciate, just on that note, I appreciate the way that the Paul brothers tried to approach this. I'll be fascinated to see if anything changes. John seemed to be saying that he wants to be looking at Mormonism to understand it, right? And he seemed to be suggesting that he is not creating something that's just trying to tear the church down. So, if that is really the case, I hope that the conversation that you guys had opened his eyes in a way that changes how he's using his channel. If things continue the way that they are, I'll maybe doubt a little bit the way that he was saying that. But if he's able to actually change the way that he is approaching this and stop, I don't know, fundraising off of saying the church has all of this money and I need to stand up to it, so you need to donate to me for it, right? If he stops being an antagonist toward the church after this conversation, maybe I'll believe that he was actually meaning what he said there.
Or maybe he's dishonest and hiding behind the school bus as he launches rockets at the enemies because he's an asymmetrical warrior and not an overt warrior following the Geneva Convention. Maybe this is spiritual terrorism. Like that's
Okay, or maybe I can just read super chats.
Yes, hit
Okay.
super chats.
Kevin Nelson, did you ask John if he is still making bank off the backs of his volunteer women? He's the biggest hypocrite grifter ever. That seems salty, but I'm just reading. Okay.
Brutal. Okay.
William Van Wagner, just a super chat. Thank you so much. Here it is. He says, I'm a Catholic priest. I watched the whole interview, agreed with so much of what you guys said, particularly your comments on objective truth. Peace.
All right. William Van Wagner.
We love having Catholic priests in the Ward Radio Ward. We need more Catholic priests in the Ward. Hey, go get your Catholic priest buddies. Tell them to come watch Ward Radio. We love having you guys here.
Let's have a barbecue. Awesome. Let's do it.
Dude, and honestly, I think the Catholics, for a long time, because of many people's misunderstandings of First Nephi, where he's talking about like the wickedness and the great horror of the earth and the abomination, all that stuff. I think for a lot of time we misunderstood that our Catholic brothers and sisters are actually a lot closer to us in many ways than our Protestant brothers and sisters in terms of theology and liturgy. And all
That's a Utah problem, bro, man. Not down here in LA, because it's only the members of the Church of Jesus Christ or Latter-day Saints and the Knights of Columbus of the Catholic Church that do any of the heavy lifting on social issues out here, man. You know what I'm saying? None of that great and abominable church Bruce R. McConkie quote filtered into any much. That I don't know. That kind of stopped at St. George. Because Las Vegas and onward.
I remember that was like a big thing. People were always saying that.
Maybe your dad your grandpa who's from where?
No, like it wasn't my family. It
Taylorsville?
It was like a church thing. American church thing.
I would never argue with you, babe. Your version is the correct version. I stand corrected. Let's keep going.
That's good, because the bed's a lot more comfier than the couch.
Oh, savage.
Jeez.
I'm really tired, guys. I gotta burn through this. I still have homework to do with my children. Okay?
Yes. Okay. Go. We got you. We got you.
Luke Hansen. Wish I could have made it moving right now. I watched about 30 minutes. Dehlin is like a parody of himself. And Paul Brothers, you guys were awesome. Love y'all.
Rock on. He's already saying y'all in Texas. He moved to Texas and he's already got y'all down. Good job, Luke.
Good luck moving. Wish I could help you move in.
Okay, Stephen Diamond.
Stephen Diamond, Temple Rocks plushies for merch, please. Also, I am so glad Kwaku is back. He's inspiring the writers group with Joseph Smith, Killed the Werewolves.
All right, rock on.
The compilation channel, John Dehlin is the modern day Korihor.
Brutal. All right, next one.
Okay, that's all I got screenshotted.
Okay, the next two just say, I'm reminded of the scripture that says the wicked taketh the truth to be hard, says the compilation channel as well. And Unity Spirit says, just paying my fine for showing up late to the show. All right. Nice. So we're done. This has been a very successful big stream. It's been awesome. We had 4 figures of people watching us here, so it's been a lot of fun hanging out with y'all. And I'm sure we're gonna have probably 6,000 or 7,000 views by the time this thing actually ends already. So I still find it hilarious, Hayden, that our review of your conversation or whatever we're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
At 2 hours and 17 minutes long, with 7 people involved, both coming and going, still was shorter than your actual conversation with John Dehlin. I push back on anybody calling him a modern Korihor with every fiber of my being, because it's frankly not descriptive enough. It's Korihor, not
Korihor.
Korihor. All right. I mean,
Oh,
we still got 90 minutes to go if we want to compete with John Dehlin and his pseudo takedown of the young millennials defending the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So anyway, any last thoughts? Hayden, you're the star of the show, bro. You're the one that's left. Just you take us out. Take as much time as you need. Let us know whatever you think we need to hear, brother.
All I'm going to say is, John, I think you're wrong. I don't hate you. I don't even think that you're necessarily purposely being evil or anything like that. But I think you should take stock of what you have done, and I think you should reevaluate the core doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as I pointed out, make sure that if you're going to criticize our idea of God, the idea of God in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, make sure it's the right one. And I just want to let everyone else watching know that there is so much goodness in this church, in the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, in the Old and New Testament, and we should wear out our lives trying to share that with people. And the best way we can share that is by living it and being living poster boards for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Jesus is awesome.
All
The
right.
end.
Jesus is awesome. That's probably going to be another shirt we have to make after the Stripling Boomers shirt and the WardRadio breastplate shirt, inspired by none other than Hayden Paul of the Stick of Joseph. Where can people find you, bro? They got to follow your stuff. Give us all the deets, man.
Just subscribe to the Stick of Joseph on YouTube and on Instagram as well. You can give us a follow. So
Okay. Future apostle and artilleryman Hayden Paul has joined us for this episode of Ward Radio. If you haven't seen it yet, watch the last, what would you say, Jonah, 45 minutes of the
last
hour.
40 minutes. I mean, the first like hour or two is the bio, which is really interesting to hear Jaden and Hayden and Jackson's stories. And then the middle, it gets a little muddly. Then the last like 45 minutes is amazing because the reason it's so long, he won't end the interview because he has to get the weaselly last word, and Hayden and Jackson won't let him.
mhm.
It's delicious. They just keep saying, right, but I mean, that's totally just your worldview, right? And he's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, but
All
no,
right.
that's still just completely biased worldview, right? And it just keeps going and going and going and going for like 40 minutes. So if you got to watch it, go watch the last 30 minutes.
All right. Awesome, guys. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Brad, anything you want to say before we go? You're the only person that hasn't said something before we go?
You know what? If I were to say one thing after all of this, it's that I don't think that you have to end up going down this nihilism track that John Dehlin has gone down, you know, or at least appears to have gone down. Maybe I'm misunderstanding some of the things that he said, but I think one thing that became kind of apparent to me, the way he talked about it, it seemed that the majority of things that still bring him joy in this life were things that he still got out of the church, that all of the good values that he kept were things that he learned from the church. And so I think I just want to say, like what Hayden and Jackson said in the debate, in the conversation, was when you're struggling with this sort of stuff, don't get hung up in the afterbirth of things, right? Recognize the miracle of the baby that you've got and see the joy that comes from it. Can you hear the baby crying in the background right now from me right now, by the way?
No.
Okay.
Zoom's doing its
perfect.
job. Zoom's doing its job.
But yeah, even the crying, dude, I will take it
Yeah.
because the miracle of life that it brings and the amazingness that is there in family, you know? I think that I just want everyone to know, whether they are in the church or out of the church, that God loves them. And we're not sitting here saying that anybody who has left the church is automatically destined to be like John Dehlin. I think John Dehlin wants people to think that, right? Because the more he can split people into anti or pro church, and if you've ever had any questions, you're on the anti team, the better off he is, right? I want everyone to take an opportunity to take a step back and recognize, hey, our Father in heaven loves you no matter where you are at. He is your Father, and he wants you to be happy. That's why these commandments are even there. When you start to look at the church and the gospel and everything through that lens, it all starts to make a whole lot more sense. And so I just want to leave that as my final thought on everything here.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Guys, buy Brad Whitbeck's book. It's called Dragon Thief. It's available where all fine books are sold, also known as Amazon.com. Also, make sure you check out Plain and Precious Publishing, a company started by Hayden Paul and his buddies. It's also edited by Dave Butler, friend of the show, and Jonah Barnes is releasing a book titled what, Jonah? What's the title, my man?
Joseph Smith
Pull up
killed
right
all
here.
the werewolves.
No. Hayden's got it. Show it off, Hayden. You got to say something so Zoom knows you're talking.
The key to the keystone, right there. That is the cover design, and right now we are printing a bunch of them.
All
so
right.
get ready to buy them.
Excellent. And
It's about half dragon people, and one of them's like he's like a thief. And no, I'm just
yes,
kidding.
exactly.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah.
Also, if you guys are interested in buying some merch, we still got War in Heaven veteran hats left on the website. There's still a couple left. And if you guys want to support the channel, there's also plenty of shirts. If you're a person of means, please consider a contribution through Zelle or Venmo. And it's been real and it's been fun, and it's been real fun for this and more. Please make sure you guys check us out at WardRadio.com.
Boom.
I built a rocket in my basement. I'm gonna fly
Carden,
to
as
the
Carden said,
moon. This supersonic is amazing. You're gonna feel my sonic boom. I'm flying higher and I'm never coming down. Look at me now.